We call her the Gram-A-Thon mom. She is Mrs. Shelby Casey Thompson, and Mrs. Thompson is all ready to set and join us today. So we want to make sure we receive her when she comes on the line. We're also joined by the leaders of Wealth Builders Worldwide. Mr. Ty Best, who will be making cameo appearances today, won't be on with us the whole day, but he doesn't have to be on with us the whole day for us to handle the business. Mr. Ty Best is with us this afternoon. We're also joined by Mr. Michael Delco and his wife, Sister Monisha Delco. They're with us in North Carolina, and they'll be joining us presently. We have from the West Coast our gold sister, Miss Rachel Rideout, is with us this afternoon. We also have from the Big Tote Board in New York. Every week we see him and his crack team of professionals put together the right kind of answers for us in the right time. And that's Mr. Rodney Berger. And Mr. Berger is on the set with us today. We'll be talking with Mr. Berger in just a moment about how this meeting will be set up and how we can measure what we're doing this afternoon. So if you like this concept, like it, share it wherever you can on Facebook. If you can, spread the message among all other Karatbars affiliates that you know that now is the time for us to get our weight up and save in gold. Get your weight up and save in gold. Get your weight up and build your organization. Get your weight up and begin to take advantage of the fact that in 48 hours, it'll be too late for you to get one of our coin combo packs. These coin combo packages can make you literally a change in your wealth and picture in just 8 months from now. Oh, I know you don't believe it, but you don't have to believe it. You better understand. You understand. Get it? That's all I'm saying. Make sure you do a 3K combo pack, a 5K combo pack, 8K or 15K. Those Ks are measurements of euros. 3,000 euros, 5,000 euros, 8,000 euros, or 15,000 euros. And you can actually change your life by means of the KBC, which is our asset coin, and the KCB, which is our investment coin. Karatbars is on the move, and there's no excuse for you not to be involved in Karatbars. There's no excuse for you not to bring your family the best of advantages here in Karatbars. There's no excuse for you not to do the things for your children and your legacy that you must do, and they're all doable right here at Karatbars. So, Mr. Delco, I know that you're there preparing. Mr. Berger, I know you have some video for us, but I'm going to turn you all back into the hands of the CEO. He's constantly encouraging others, constantly empowering others, and really emboldening others as well. He's with us today, Mr. Michael L. Delco. Mr. Delco?
Yes, okay, so let's give some instructions real quick, Mr. Berger, on how people can participate in the Gram-A-Thon. What we do is we save gold for ourselves, but we total it up as a community. So, Mr. Berger, if you could, you need to put down for me 72 grams, 72 grams of the Dalcos to add to the tote board, and that's our total for today. And what we do is we saved 72 grams of gold today on our payday for our family, but as a group, we totaled it up to see what our group totals at Group Economics. We totaled it up to see what our group total will be at the end of the day. Also, it's Friday, it's payday Friday, and we're closing out our pay week. So not only do we save gold for ourselves, those of you that don't know about Karatbars, it's a network of gold savers. And when we save gold for ourselves, we create volume within the network that pays individuals in the network who are participating in the gold savings and business packages. So you'll have to get back with the person that shared this Gram-A-Thon on their page to explain to you exactly how that works. But Mr. Berger, if you can show them how to participate by going to Gram-A-Thon online to enter their grams.
Yes, sir. You mean to enter on the Gram-A-Thon website? Is that what you're saying, sir?
That is correct.
Okay. Give me just a second to bring my screen up. We are live now on Facebook, so please share this amazing. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, I'm going to bring up my screen. And I'm going to go ahead and put your, that was for you, correct, Mr. Delco, the 72?
That's correct, Mr. Berger.
All right, so. All righty, you should now see my screen.
Yes, sir.
All right, so what the website is Gram-A-Thon, Gram-A-Thon.info, Gram-A-Thon.info. And what you're gonna do is this, we're gonna put, well, it looks like everybody else beat you today, Mr. Daco. I'm sorry, bro. But, but all right, what we're gonna do is put, you can put your initials, your name, you know, whatever how you want to put it. If you want to put your city, it's not, it's optional. It's fun to see where everybody's coming from. And then you're gonna put your state. The state's mandatory because we want to see who's coming in from where. And then you put your username in. And then of course your country, because we got people all around the world that joined us on this amazing Gram-A-Thon. Type in your number. The state's mandatory because we want to see who's coming in. Say that again. All right. So once you put all your info in, you're going to check the little I am not a robot. And it's going to have a checkbox. Once it comes up, sometimes it'll make you put pictures in, line all the pictures up, and like there's cars, bikes, storefronts, whatever. But for the most part, it's just a checkbox. Then make sure you click here to submit your gram count. All right, so you click on that. Then you're going to get a nice little congratulations. You're for paying yourself first, and your grams have been counted. Thank you for participating in the Gram-A-Thon. And now, if you look over to the right, you'll see Mr. Dalco's entry for 72 grams. All right. So you want to go ahead and start. You want to start the video now, Mr. Dalco?
Yes, let's do it. And what, the reason why we want to show this video, ladies and gentlemen, is because there is far too little. And before we play it, I want Minister Jamil to speak about this for a second. There is far too little education on why we should be saving gold. Our parents don't teach it. Grandparents couldn't teach it possibly. Everyone on the planet understands saving gold. So, Minister Jamil, before he plays the video, could you talk real quick about the undereducation of saving gold in America and around the world, for that matter?
Well, thank you, Mr. Delco, for that. I'll be very brief. Listen, everybody, it is clear that we are in very, very crucial times. The times in which we live involve struggles that have been masqueraded as one thing, but the struggles boil down to two main groups of folks, the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots have always made sure that the have-nots, or the haves have always made sure that the have-nots do not know how to have. One of the things that's important for us to realize is that for Mr. Delco to quote a statistic accurately, that 99% of the world's population has zero gold as money. Zero. That 99% is not a coincidental percentage, because you've heard in the last few years that protesters have said that 1% of the world's population controls all too great an amount of the wealth of the planet Earth. The financial wealth, the resource wealth, the human resources wealth. It's controlled by 1% of the population. So if we intend to make a step for freedom, to make a step for an equitable, fair, and balanced distribution of the world's resources, we have to do that in a way that is intelligent and gains us a benefit that we can hold forever, that we can hold in safety, that we can hold in security. Why don't they want you to know? Because gold, unlike the things that they cause us to collect, will not rot. It will not dry rot. It will not expire. It does not have a use-by date. Gold never tastes funny or has a funny feel in the mouth. Gold never doesn't fit anymore. Gold never sits on the shelf in the garage and gathers dust. gold is gold. And so what we're about to see today involves us getting into the process, making steps in the process to save gold, to save in the world's only cryptocurrency backed by gold, to build organizations of people who understand this, and by doing so, change millions of lives. We're not just talking about grabbing money for money's sake. If we do that, we'll be the same as the people who have money today. No, gold is the real money that we must hold on to, that we must acquire for the purpose of changing the lives of the people of the world. So I'm going to give it back to you, Mr. Berger. This is a key time. Please focus your attention on the videos and focus on the discussion that ensues afterwards. Welcome to the Gram-A-Thon. We're back. Mr. Berger, to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Brother Jamil. If anybody wants to jump in to contribute, just call me out and I'll stop it and we'll comment and go from there. All right?
And Mr. Berger, at any point here that you get to a point you think we need to stop and discuss, feel free to do that. You have carte blanche on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
With a little bit of a simple kind of drama, rhyme the fire and blind eyes open when the rhyme's spoken from the writing. Gentle giant shining armor bomb the track, soft fact that relation, then we put it on wax like that.
Welcome to another Cold Fusion video. I'm going to start this video off with a quote. Henry Ford once said, "It is well enough that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." I quote this because it encapsulates the fact that the contents of this video may be unsettling compared to the videos that I normally make. I still feel compelled to make this video because I've been exploring the financial world for the last 4 years and it's definitely given me a more complete view of the world. I want to share some of what I've come across with you guys. I'm also going to do a video about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin in the future, and to understand why Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies may continue to rise, it's critical that you understand the contents of this video. I hope that you find this topic interesting and that it inspires you to do your own research afterwards. Now, with that said, let's begin. So who controls all of our money? It's a simple question. We all know that you and I don't control it. Our employees don't control it. The companies that they work for don't control it. So who does? Where does it even come from in the first place? I'll give you a hint. Money does not come from the government. It's a seemingly obvious question that's never asked or taught in schools for some reason. Unfortunately, most people's lives are basically dedicated to money. It's all people ever worry about or talk about. We go to school to learn basically how to go to university, to learn the skills to get a good job, so that we can trade hours of our lives, all for this thing called money. So why wouldn't you want to know where money comes from and who issues it? Today, in this very special video, you're about to find out the answer to the question of who controls all of our money. People today can tell something isn't quite right with our financial system, but they just can't put their finger on it. Some people think it's the failure of government, others think that it's the failure of capitalism itself. This video should clarify a few things. The year is 1694, and England had just suffered through 50 years of war. Exhausted, the English government needed loans to fund their political means. Brainchild of Scottish banker William Paterson, it was decided that a privately owned bank that could issue the money to the government out of thin air was to be the solution. This was the very first modern central banking system in the world. Central banking is more influential than laws, governments, and politicians, but strangely not the focus of the general public. Fast forward to the early 20th century, and after 2 failed attempts, a group of bankers wanted to put a central bank in the United States of America. It was December of 1910, and Senator Nelson Aldrich boarded a private train car in New York with 6 others. The 6 were not to be spotted by any news reporters to avoid questions. Their destination? Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia. The meeting went for 9 days, and from that, they created the Federal Reserve System. This is all documented and a matter of public record. Some of them went on to write about the meetings in their personal biographies. Here's a quote from Frank Vanderlip, president of the National City Bank of New York, February 9th, 1935, in the Saturday Evening Post.
I was a secretive, Indeed, as furtive as any conspirator, discovery we knew simply must not happen, or else all our time and effort would be wasted. If it were to be exposed that our particular group had got together and written a banking bill, that bill would have no chance whatever of passage by Congress.
The 6 men that Nelson Aldrich brought together included the head of banks, branches of government such as the Treasury, and some of the richest people on earth at the time. To give you an idea of how rich they were, in 1910, these 6 men represented a quarter of the world's worth. The bankers told the American public that the purpose of the system was to stabilize the economy and to stop the grip of the Wall Street banks over America. The problem was, the guys that wrote the bill were the very same people they said they'd stop. If they succeeded, it will give a small group of men the ability to create money from nothing and loan it to the American government with interest. So why was it done in secret? Because the American people didn't want a central bank. Back then, unlike today, people knew what central banks were and understood them very well. Everywhere a central bank went, there'll be wealth inequality, wild swings between economic booms and busts, and after each bust, those at the top of society mysteriously came out richer while everyone else got poorer. Europe was the running example of this at the time. The Federal Reserve was originally drafted as the Aldrich Bill, but when it came into Congress, they recognized Senator Aldrich's name and smelt a rat. The bankers needed better cover. They decided to send 2 millionaire friends to carry the bill to quell the suspicions of Congress and renamed it the Federal Reserve Act. Next, in a textbook lesson of deceit, the bankers set out to fool the American people through disinformation. In the newspapers of the day, the bankers screamed and protested against the new Federal Reserve Bill. It would ruin the banks, they exclaimed. The average person read the protesting articles of the bankers and thought to themselves, if the bankers hate it, it must be good. And then they ended up unknowingly supporting a Trojan horse. The bankers also fooled Congress by putting clauses in the bill that limited their power only to remove them once the bill was passed. A double head fake of the public and Congress was all it took. The bill was passed on December 23, 1913, while most of Congress was out on holiday. And with that, a small group had complete monopoly over the issuing and creation of American money. Today, the Federal Reserve is the most powerful entity in the United States, and they're not ashamed to admit it either. Here's former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan.
What should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take. What the relationships are don't frankly matter.
In addition to this, it seems that the Fed can't even be touched by investigating parties.
So I'm asking you if your agency has, in fact, according to Bloomberg, extended $9 trillion in credit, which, by the way, works out to $30,000 for every single man, woman, and child in this country. I'd like to know, if you're not responsible for investigating that, who is?
We have responsibility for the Federal Reserve's programs and operations, audits, to conduct audits and investigations in that area. In terms of who's responsible for investigating, would you mind repeating the question one more time?
Mr. Chairman, my time is up, but I have to tell you honestly, I am shocked to find out that nobody at the Federal Reserve, including the Inspector General, is keeping track of this.
So what does all of this have to do with me, you might be asking? I don't even live in the US. Well, 2 reasons. Number 1, the central banking model from the Bank of England and the United States has now been put in all countries, and even consolidated power in parts of Europe as the European Central Bank, or ECB. This unites separate countries under one economic policy. The only places in the world that don't have central banks are North Korea, Iran, and Cuba. In 2000, this list suspiciously included Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya. And number 2, since the end of World War II, the US dollar has been the reserve currency of the world. This means that all central banks hold US dollars in their reserves. In other words, all other currencies are backed by the US dollar. This directly links your country to the Federal Reserve's monetary policy in America. More on this later. When the post-World War II monetary system, called the Bretton Woods system, was created, all US dollars were backed by and exchangeable for gold. A byproduct of this was that currencies used to be very stable in relation to each other.
For that, all the countries, the exchange rates were fixed, and year after year you could predict what prices were going to be. You could start a business elsewhere, know if you were, you could calculate profits. Business was much, much easier before floating exchange rates.
Unfortunately, in 1971, due to a falling US dollar, international capital flows into gold, and the funding of the Vietnam War, President Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
Now the dollar was floating and backed by nothing, and has been ever since. Okay, so let's think a little. If the US dollar is backed by nothing, but the world's reserves are backed by the US dollar, intrinsically, since 1971, doesn't this mean that all currencies are now backed by nothing tangible, only trust in the American government? Well, this is correct. Money backed by nothing is known as fiat currency. Fiat in Latin means let it be done. In other words, the government says it is money, so it is. A consequence to having money backed by nothing is that whenever the Federal Reserve creates money, it dilutes the currency supply of all other nations because their reserves are backed by the US dollar. All countries' reserves are worth less each time money is created. In the past few years, the Federal Reserve has printed trillions of dollars, and countries like Russia and China have noticed this. As a reaction to the money printing, these countries have been selling US dollar reserves and buying gold over the same period. But wait a second. Some of you clever thinkers out there may have asked yourself, if every currency on Earth is backed by nothing, how am I able to pay for things? Well, as it turns out, the whole economic system today is running because it's backed by faith. Faith that you can exchange your unit of currency for goods or services. In a way, part of that faith comes from the fact that not many people actually know where money comes from. We're about to find that out in this video. A central bank is essentially the entity that manages a nation's money supply, and it can loan money to the government with interest. In the United States and most other countries, it works like this. When the government needs more money than they receive from taxes, they ask the Treasury Department for money. The Treasury then receives an IOU or bond from the government. The Treasury, through the banks, gives this IOU to the Federal Reserve. The Fed then writes a check for this IOU and hands it to the banks. At this exchange at the banks, money is created and it can be used to pay government bills. So hang on, where does the Fed get the money to be able to write this check? They get this money from nowhere. They literally just invent it. Here's a quote from the Boston Federal Reserve. Quote, "When you or I write a check, there must be sufficient funds in our account to cover the check. But when the Federal Reserve writes a check, there is no bank deposit on which that check is drawn. When the Federal Reserve writes a check, it is creating money." End quote. So in essence, they're writing a check and creating money from an account that has no money in.
I had to stop on that right there. Man, if we were to write a check like anything and create money with our own check, that would be considered illegal. Anybody want to comment on that?
I definitely want to comment on it. I'm glad you stopped it when you did. I was ready to stop it after the first frame when Henry Ford said if the general population knew how money worked, there'd be a revolution by morning. I wanted to stop right there. Man, hoodwinked. We are completely bamboozled by this foolishness.
Run them up.
That is amazing. If you hear me on there, that this video is so profound that it's so crystal clear. It begs the question: do you want to know? Is there anybody out there that wants to know what's really going on? Money being printed out of thin air that reduces the value of all the money that you have is the practice of the United States of America. Writing money out of a checkbook that has no money in it.
And Mr. McKay, he clearly said all of this is public record. So when they show this video, it's not like they're making up some tall tale. The meeting in Jekyll Island is public record. If people like to Google, especially when we tell them about carrot bars, They want to Google to see if Karatbars is legitimate. So Google whether the information you just heard is true. Look, I was reading an article yesterday. My wife made me triple check it, so I did, and it's true. Uber can't operate in Frankfurt, Germany, or Stuttgart. Uber, the big global company Uber, they cannot operate in Germany because German law is so strict. They don't have enough securities and enough insurances to operate in Germany, and yet Karatbars does. Wrap your head around that for a second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We catch Uber all the time. We trust Uber, but Uber can't operate in the country that we operate in. That goes to show you the level of integrity that Karatbars has. Then we show you this video, and it's an absolute scam that's being perpetrated on us every single second that we work an hour for $1 amount. And yet, people, by and large, still question the validity of the information. So it does challenge it challenges your faith, and it challenges your tenacity to keep on sharing the information. But people need to hear it. So, folks, those of you that are watching via Facebook, those of you that are on here with us at goldrocks.info, do you really want the truth? Do you really want the truth? As Mr. McKay said, Mr. McKay, I'll kick that back to you to finish that thought.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing because I was just talking to a relative earlier today that was questioning everything about Karatbars and, you know, what is the history of it? And you should be careful because it's all of this conditioning of stuff and not really wanting to know fully. And I think I posted earlier that you don't just want to learn. You want to learn to understand. You don't want to just know something. You want to understand it. And so I love that it was decided to play this video here because when we're talking about a captured audience and trying to catch someone's attention and for them to be quiet, sit down, and shut up, if I could just be so direct, to hear what's going on here. We're not here playing games here. We're exposing things that have been hidden. And so we want to keep bringing this to light because at some time, sometime, the revelation will hit them and they'll understand what we're saying. You can't keep going to the grocery store, spending $100 and that cart being more empty every time you go. The revelation has got to hit you at some time.
That's good stuff, Mr. Berger. You want to do a total or do you want to keep going or you got some more you want to add, Minister Jamil?
You know, I don't have very much to add. Mr. McKay, Mr. Delco, you've spoken eloquently about the issue and framed it for our understanding. The only question I have is what will now we do as a result of what we know? What will we do as a result of what we have learned this afternoon? And it is unimpeachably true. Not only do we get it from Google University, which everybody goes to find facts and figures, but we can find this in the matter of public history and public record. It is known that this so-called monster from Jekyll Island, the Federal Reserve, when the former chairman of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, goes on national television and says that it does not matter what the relationship is between us and the executive branch of government because we are not subordinate to any agency of the U.S. government. That lets you know where their thinking is and about their power to exercise power over the monetary systems and exchange in not only the United States, but around the world. What you say, well, you might get overwhelmed. What can I do? What can little old me? What can I do? What you can do is to begin the process of saving in gold with just a gram of gold today. 72 grams is great, but if you have only enough to get 1 gram of gold, get that. Secure that for your family, acquire it, and begin to take money, real money, out of the noxious, poisonous exchange that involves exploitation and debt and deception and lying. Because they lie when they tell you that you can write a check with nothing behind it, because you know that's not the case. Mr. Berger pointed that out. He stopped the video to remind us that if we try to go and write a check at Lord and Taylor, Lord knows somebody tried it today at Bergdorf Goodman. Somebody tried it today at Macy's. Somebody went to Hudson's. Well, they don't have Hudson's in Detroit anymore, but somebody tried that somewhere, and somebody found out that they couldn't write a check with no money behind it. What is it about the Fed that allows them to write checks with no money behind it and create imaginary fiat or worthless currency? Gold is real money. Gold is God's money. And if you do it right, gold can become your money too.
I want to piggyback on that because it just made me think about what Karatbars is doing is bringing things to light. We have taken what has been in the dark and brought it to light, and we have made money honest again in the open. People are challenged with that because it is in the open. And so this gets back into really what systems can do for you. Now, the Federal Reserve System, we cannot like it or dislike it, not agree with it, but that system, it's a 100-year-old system that's purring like a kitten, and nobody's bringing anything to light except for Karatbars International. So now we've taken what has been critically impacting families across the entire world. And what Karatbars has done now is restored. It has put a platform in the universe to restore mankind's money to its families.
Think about that. The restoration of mankind's money to its families. When we have been under the touch, a cold, clammy touch that froze our ability to do anything for ourselves. And remember, a wise man once said that all those who came before me were thieves and robbers. And I'm telling you, there's been some thievery and some robbery going on in the financial sector of this world for so long that so many people have become so accustomed to being so poor that they're so broke and so miseducated. Oh, you know the rest of it. We've got a lot to do about straightening this problem out. Mr. Delco, I wanted to just throw this back to you, Mr. Berger, if you don't mind, before we get to the big tote board in New York. And we are coming to the big tote board, no doubt. But Mr. Delco, when you and your family talk about how we can get this up and make an example, you've lived it, sir. You've seen it. And you talked earlier about how gold creates the magnetism that draws wealth toward us. Could you say a little bit more about how we can start, Mr. Delco? Even if we're just coming in the door, how do we start?
Yeah, so short story, short answer, just get a Karatbars account, because Karatbars has been created to free people from the current system of debt. Just get a Karatbars account. It's free to join. Mr. McKay, I was talking to a gentleman just the other day. He said, I'll think about it. And I'm thinking, so this is overwhelming for me, so excuse my passion, but I'm thinking to myself, all right, I know what I know about Karatbars, and he doesn't. I know that him thinking about it is pushing him down the network, behind the wave. He could be ahead of the wave, on the top of the wave, or behind the wave. I know that every day that he waits is detrimental to his savings and bank account. I know this. And yet, the programming is so deep, even in my own mind, I don't want to put even an adequate amount of pressure to make him get in front of that wave. I'm trying to be as unassuming and as unaggressive as possible, non-aggressive as possible, so I don't feel like I'm selling him, because we're not selling anything.
That's right.
If I don't put some pressure on him, you can be number 1, number 10, or number 1,000. And then you got to sit there and ruminate over, is this a pyramid? So by the time you finally figure out, oh my God, Mike Dalco made a fortune, I could have been made up here with him. Now you're way back here figuring it out. You go figure it out. It's like MasterCard and Visa. That was a day when no one had one. And now everybody has one. You try to use a check today, they look at you like you got a third eye.
That is so true.
But the same mindset of a person couldn't handle plastic money. They couldn't handle it. Now they have it. You're gonna have a gold savings account, and you're gonna use cryptocurrency. Whether you want to or not, you're gonna. Like you're using smartphones. You didn't want one, did you? You wanted to hold on to that flip phone, didn't you? My beautiful wife had one of the nicest razors. That thing was sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody started getting flip phones. She still had that razor until the technology it wouldn't support the technology. You can try. We're at a Starbucks right now. They got the screen to order, and there's a little camera on it. And there's coming a day where there's not going to be anybody in the drive-thru. We looked at a video last night of a new cruise ship in Miami, and they got a bar called the Robot Bar, and the robots make the drinks. Your day is coming. You're going to get automated out of a job. You better figure out another way to make money. And what better way than by saving? So to answer Minister Jamil's question, get a Carrot Bars account, get back with one of these people that share this with you, and they'll take you through it. It's too big for us to explain it today. We've got 2 more hours, still not enough time. So get with the person that's sharing it, and they're going to walk you through slowly. Don't get stressed about it, but they're going to walk you through slowly to get you up to speed on where we are with this. But long story short, this video is breathtaking. This is my second time watching it. I'm getting madder this time than I did the first time.
That's it right there. That's it. That's it, Mr. Delco. It gets, you can feel it in your bones when you're awake. When you're awake, it's a whole different, it's a whole different animal. We need to go ahead and finish playing the rest of this video.
No doubt, no doubt. Mr. Berger, are you queued up to continue the video? Let's go back to class, everybody. Let's go back to this information and come back stronger than before. Mr. Berger, go right ahead.
All right, so before we get back into the video, we might as well do our count for since 3:40 p.m. today. We have accumulated 347.6 grams.
All right.
Within this 40 minutes. And I gotta say, I can't hold back. What Gregory McKay just said, what we all been talking about here, Care Bars gives us our money back. Care Bars gives us our money back. And I think when you watch this video, it angers me that they don't even care about the people. It's all about how much money they can make for themselves. And they do that when they made all these rules and regulations and stuff. They snuck in what they wanted to take advantage of the people, and nobody even knew. And I think it's time now, because of Care Bars, we get our own money back. And I think that's powerful. So, all right, so we got the gram count, 347.6 grams at 340. And you guys are amazing. You're bringing back your money into the real money. And what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the video.
The money the Federal Reserve creates can be used as legal tender to buy things and eventually makes its way into the real economy. If you and I did that, we'd go to jail for fraud, but they can do it because they invented the system. This is the same system used throughout the world today. Another part of this money creation happens at the commercial bank side. Every time you take out a loan to buy a house, car, or TV, banks create money out of nowhere to give you this loan, and you still have to pay interest on it. And don't just believe me when I say that. Hear it for yourself from the horse's mouth, the people running the system. Graham Towers, former governor of the Central Bank of Canada, states, quote, "Each and every time a bank makes a loan, new credit is created, new deposits, brand new money," end quote. Paul Tucker, Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, quote, "Banks extend credit by simply increasing the borrowing customer's current account," end quote. So what they're basically saying is that each time the bank makes a loan, the bank doesn't use other people's deposited money and give it to you. It creates new money. In modern times, this means typing digits into a computer. 97% of all money is digitally created like this. Only 3% is the physical cash and coins that we carry. Another crazy thing that commercial banks can do is lend out 10 times more money than they actually have in reserves. This is called fractional reserve lending. So who wrote this ridiculous system into law? For the United States, it was part of the Federal Reserve System drafted in 1913. And again, this is the same system used throughout the world. So what's the issue? Why should I even care? Well, there's consequences. When more loans are given out, more money is created, and the rest of the money in circulation is worth less and less as the years go on. This is known as inflation. In a way, inflation is basically a tax that we all pay for the fraud of money printing. Easy money now in exchange for tax on our future generations. It's also why in 1950, a house used to cost $7,000 and a car $2,000. Obviously, this is no longer the same today. Things will always keep getting more expensive as long as this system is in place. This was actually kind of okay because wages grew in relation to inflation until about 2008. Why this stopped happening is a story for another day. So things are already pretty crazy, but they get even crazier. The more you look into it, the stranger things become. So remember how we're talking about how central banks and commercial banks can create money out of nothing? This procedure actually does create something. It creates debt. Let me explain. When you take out a loan, it's written down as an asset in the bank as a negative form, kind of like a negative value of money, or otherwise known as debt. Under this system, debt is actually money. And again, don't just listen to me. Mariner Eccles, former governor of the Federal Reserve, states, quote, "If there were no debts in our money system, there wouldn't be any money." So in essence, instead of gold being the backbone of our economy, it's now debt. The system we're under now is sometimes referred to as the debt-based monetary system. It requires that debt always grows. Countries and people must become deeper in debt so that there's more money in the system, because remember, debt is money. If people and governments stop borrowing money and pay back loans, the debt doesn't grow, the money supply shrinks, and the system falters. It truly is bizarre. All of this is
You gotta stop.
I knew you had to stop right there. Look, I knew you had to stop there. I knew it.
I knew that was going to happen.
It's imaginary, Mr. McKay. It's imaginary. And their world is built on a promise to pay what never existed in the first. Am I reading that wrong?
That's crystal and clear.
Both of them.
It's thin air. It's crystal clear.
I have a question, guys. Is this feel like a Disney movie to you or something? The magic just appears?
Oh my goodness. I was just thinking about what Mr. Delco said. So we're actually fighting with people to give them their money back. We got to fight with you to give you your money back. That's amazing.
Yeah. The part that messed me up, Mr. McKay, is they said if we didn't borrow, there wouldn't be any money because it's truly based on debt. If we didn't get in debt, there would be no more money. And then the other part that really flabbergasted me is that it's designed to continuously increase more debt and reduce the buying power of our paper currency. If we don't borrow and spend and get in debt and get credit cards and create more debt, we would damage the monetary system because it's a debt-based monetary system as opposed to what we had before, which was a gold-based monetary system. All that needed to happen was they needed to mine more gold. Now, think about that, Dale. Get that in your head, guys. The way we had the gold system, the more gold they mined, the wealthier communities and people became because gold is valuable. It's rare. It's a precious metal. It has its own place on the periodic table. It is God's money.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's wealthy by God's decree. There's no one on the planet that will argue with you that gold is not wealth. Hey, I tried to use a $100 bill at a yogurt shop and they wouldn't take it. They wouldn't take it. Your money doesn't work sometimes in your own country. But everybody knows that gold is money. So when they took us off a real money standard and put us on a debt-based money system, it is contingent upon people having debt. This is so blindingly simple. And yet, when you tell people about it, they'll even get mad at you about trying to share this freedom. Back to you, Mr. McKay. Mr. Muhammad.
Wow.
Let me say something real quick. I'm going to be the person that never heard any of this before. All right? I'm going to ask these questions. All right. So you're telling me, I'm just representing everybody else that's outside of wealth builders. So you're telling me that debt is money, because that's what this video was saying. And so the money I have is not real money. So I'm expected to get in debt so money can be created from debt? What are you telling me?
So Mr. Berger, since you're new to this whole idea, here you go. Will your dollar buy today what it bought 40 years ago?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Money, by definition, has to be a store of value. In other words, it has to buy today what it bought 40 years ago, or it is not money. Now gold, there you go. Thank you, Mr. McKay. Drop the mic. So gold buys what it bought 40 years ago. It buys it today with change left over. All right? I'm going to say it again. You can buy today what you bought 500 years ago with gold with change left over. Look, in Roman times, when they crucified Jesus, a Roman soldier could buy a silk toga, a headdress, a leather belt, leather sandals for several, an ounce of gold. An ounce of gold would buy a complete gentleman, a wealthy gentleman, Roman gentleman's outfit. Today, an ounce of gold will buy a brand new 3-piece suit, silk tie, silk shirt, leather belt, leather shoes, because an ounce of gold is $1,300, $1,200.
And if you know where to shop, you can get some gators. If you know where to shop, you go down the city slickers, you can get some gators for that.
Yeah.
So, that's real.
Yeah. I mean, a good pair of gators might be $500. A tailor-made suit might be $800 to $1,000. It still buys today what it bought 2,000 years ago. It's a store of value. It is a store of value. Oh my goodness, guys.
Yeah, we're talking about systems, because the Federal Reserve, that system, in observance of it, it's the bomb, because it's doing what it's designed to do. Every system, when it does what it's designed to do, you got to give it some dap, because it's doing what it's designed to do. Our system combats the system. You got to have a system that can fight a system. You know, our bodies are human systems. We got to go fight the food system, because we put the wrong stuff in our body, it's going to mess up the system. So you got to recognize, and Karatbars arms everybody with a financial system.
Think of that. A financial system, a true financial system that is not any longer based on debt and deception, but rather on real wealth and a store of value that lasts through the ages. So the question remains now, what would you like to save for yourself and your family? Would you like to save in worthless paper? Would you like to save in that which sounds roughly in your pocket and floats into the collection basket at church? Or would you rather save in that which carries value, God's money? I might say it this way: it's only what you do in gold that lasts.
Yeah. So look, my grandmother, she was fairly stable financially. You know, she pastored churches. People loved her. People gave to her. She built 2 churches up in North Carolina and Virginia, Mr. Muhammad. So she was a fairly well-to-do woman. Mm-hmm. And she probably had $100,000 in her life, you know, savings. But $100,000 in 1950 would only, what could you buy in $100,000? You could buy a house and a car for $100,000 in 1950. Today, $100,000 might give you a down payment on a house. And I don't mean buy a mortgage and a car note. I mean outright buy it. Today, if she had put that $100,000 in gold, and handed me the $100,000 that she acquired in gold in 1950, it would be worth $4 million today.
That's correct.
This is not hard. This is not even difficult math. Gold means more. That's all it is. And we're way overdue for sharing with our brothers and sisters. Those of you that are jumping on the stream and you're eager for this information, we applaud you today because you're in rare air.
Yeah.
You're in rare air right here.
No doubt. And you've been joined, brothers and sisters, by folks from all over the globe. We want to take a moment, Mr. Dalco, and greet some of the great folks who are with us from New Jersey. Mr. Sam Collins is with us. Good to see you. Au. And our business partners there in New Jersey. Rosalind Raines, the international sister, is with us today from Atlanta, Georgia. Sister Myrtle Placide is on the line with us. Everybody's saving gold together. Karen Briggs is with us today. We're always good to see you, Sister Karen. Sonia Ford Townsend is with us. The great Mr. Louis Straub is with us. Jaleel Hawk is with us. Velma Jackson Lewis is with us. Fatima X. Coles is with us. Sherelle Quarterman down in South Georgia is with us, and all over the place. Shondell Dodson wants me to let you know that Brooklyn is in the house, and from Mississippi, Glenn Perkins is with us today. We are building a network, a team, a fellowship, if you will, of gold savers, of those who are building a network of people around this country and around the world who understand that we're ready to come out of the economy of debt and oppression, that we're ready to come out of the economy of deception, where in rare moments of candor, leaders in the banking community will say to us directly, it's all make-believe. The way that we generate money now is to put a signature on a new line of credit for a customer and let him borrow some more of what we go around the corner and print, and then charge him money in interest to pay us back and make him fight us to pay us back. As Mr. McKay said, that's a system that was designed by a mastermind. I'm not going to call him a criminal mastermind because that wouldn't be nice, but it was designed by a mastermind, designed to get money out of your pocket that will never come back. That's why the visionary leadership of Mr. Harold Seitz at Karatbars International is so revolutionary and is shaking up the world. That's why the instrument that is Wealth Builders Worldwide, created in the mind of Mr. Tyrone Best. Mr. Best created something that will allow people who have been disenfranchised, deceived, and made debtors to have an avenue, a step-by-step way to get out of that condition. That's the way that we build here. So on behalf of Wealth Builders Worldwide, and for me, for Team Freedom and the Woodward Group, and for all of our various different organizations and teams, let's get together. Let's save in gold. Let's build our organizations. Let's acquire crypto, and let's make some changes in our lives that will make changes in the world. I remember Reverend Ike saying, yes, I'm going to quote Reverend Ike. That's what I said. I remember Reverend Ike saying it this way. Reverend Ike said, he said, honey, I love the poor, but the best way for me to help the poor is not to be one of them. I'm telling you today, brother and sister, don't be a member of the poor community. It's not about your dollars. It's not about your money. It's about your mind. How poor are you in your thinking? Do you really believe that you can make a difference? If you believe, you're in the right place. If you want to grow your belief, you're also in the right place. But if you're scared to death to make progress, maybe you should go somewhere and watch reruns on black and white television. Maybe you should go somewhere and spend your time in an imaginary world of make-believe. But in the real world, to help others, we've got to do better for ourselves and for them. Thank you, Rachel Rideout. She makes that comment, and she makes it with clear precision. So let's get back to our programming. We're going to finish up the video, Mr. Berger, and let's go ahead and round it out. We'll come back to the big tote board, and we want to recognize you by name from all over the world. So if you're in this live feed, come on the comment section and make sure we know you're here. Kyle X. Brown is here from right there in suburban Washington. Peace to all the Wealth Builders Worldwide. Peace back to you, Brother Kyle. Dylan Mia is here with us. Marcus Cook, Frank Muhammad from right there, the Brothers Huddle in Washington, D.C., Jeff Thomas in Waldorf, Maryland. More and more people gathering around the microphone. And that is the question. We're going to address the question after we finish the video. We're going to go out in the desert to address a question with the diva from the desert herself. The question is, why do you feel you need a good credit score? What is it that you feel you need a good credit score for? So we're going to finish the video, Mr. Berger. Then we're going to come back. That'll give Ms. Glaspie time to get ready to come to the microphones. But this is the Gram-A-Thon. If you haven't been here before, this is your new home on Friday afternoons. Come on in, set a spell, save a gram or 2 or 20 or 100. And let's have a good time building for ourselves. Mr. Rodney Berger, back to you.
Thank you so much, Minister Jamel. We appreciate you, man. I love how you help us host these amazing Gram-A-Thons. Man, it makes me think you must have been on MC or a TV show. But listen, guys, if you've been listening to us in this last hour and you're saying to yourself, all right, you guys are telling me I need to get the gold. How do I do it? Well, listen, whoever shared this particular live stream with you right now, or if you're watching it from a recording state on YouTube or whatever, whoever shared this video with you, get back to that person and let them know that you are ready right now to sign up for your free gold savings account. And we're going to show some more videos after this. We have some solutions after we watch this horror movie that we're watching right now.
Ronnie said it was a horror movie.
And Mr. Berger, before
chills on my back just saying that about it.
Now, Mr. Berger, before you go, let's make sure, if you can, in the comment section, would you please paste the link to the videos that we're showing today so folks can add them to their libraries, add them to their conversation pieces, add them to what it is that we know. Would that be all right, Mr. Berger?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we're not making this stuff up.
Not at all.
All right, you ready? Here
Yes,
we go.
sir.
For the conclusion of who's controlling our money.
The Federal Reserve and other central banks control money by adjusting its supply and how much it costs to borrow money, otherwise known as the interest rate. With these tools, and as a consequence of human group psychology, central banks can create booms and busts in the economy at will and also distort and derail an economy by messing with it. Let's take a quick case study. In the year 2000, Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan cut interest rates to 1%. He did this to try and fight off a recession from the dot-com bubble and encourage people to borrow money. When interest rates are low, if you're borrowing money, you save a whole lot on repaying mortgages. Since a 1% interest rate hadn't been seen at the time since the 1950s, it was a pretty good deal. Greenspan's idea was that he could create a wealth effect. People would start to buy houses, the prices would go up, and then people would feel wealthier and spend more money in the economy and stimulate it. Greenspan sure succeeded in getting people to borrow money to buy houses, but they borrowed too much, and the result was the 2008 housing bubble. This is a prime example of what can go wrong when central banks mess with an economy. Yes, corrupt bankers have a lot to answer for in their role in the 2008 crisis, but the Fed has a far bigger long-term impact. Even crazier things are happening in Japan. Their central bank is buying so many stocks that they were the #1 buyer of Japanese stocks in 2016. So they have part ownership of companies with money that they created from nothing. So in essence, it is the central banks that control our economy and the central and commercial banking system together that control all of our money. The difference is central banks can create money at will, while commercial banks need loans to create money. To give you an idea of people's views of central banking when people actually knew what central banks were, here's a couple of examples. In 1881, then President of the United States, James Garfield states, quote, Whoever controls the volume of money in any country is absolute master of all industry and commerce. And when you realize that the entire system is very easily controlled one way or another by a few powerful men at the top, you will not have to be told how periods of inflation and depression originate." End quote. Benjamin Franklin in his autobiography stated that the prime reason for the American War of Independence was a battle over who actually controlled and issued the money of the new colonies. Moving on to more modern times, Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman states, quote, "The Federal Reserve definitely caused the Great Depression by contracting the amount of currency in circulation by 1/3 from 1929 to 1933, end quote. So with all of this being said, some would argue that central banks are not inherently a bad thing. They just need to be part of the government and not privately owned. The government should be able to issue its own money for the benefit of the people and shouldn't have to pay a massive interest on its own debt. This was tried at least once in the United States by President Lincoln, who stated this:
"The government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency and credit needed to satisfy the spending power of the government and the buying power of consumers. By the adoption of these principles, the taxpayers will be saved immense sums of interest. Money will cease to be master and become the servant of humanity."
Abraham Lincoln then issued his own government money. It was called the greenback. No further comments on that story. So I think we'll end the video there. There's so much more that I could cover about what central banking decisions led to what revolutions around the world. Pretty much when you look at it, all revolutions and all wars, when you dig through everything, it all boils down to money. I could also have talked about the new global movement of those who are rejecting the debt-based economic system. People are starting to move their currency into gold, silver and cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. That's a whole nother story for another day. Anyways, if you've watched the whole way through this video, congratulations. You're one of the few who have found out the hidden truths about who controls all of our money. I think I've only met about 4 people in real life that have been aware of the debt-based economic system. It's strangely unknown, but is as true as anything. I even showed you all of the quotes of the bankers and the former heads of the Federal Reserve telling you from their own mouths how the system actually works. If this is your first time of hearing all of this, I encourage you, as I said before, to do your own research, and then you'll start to see the bigger picture, and the world today will make a whole lot more sense. If you want some good starting resources, I recommend Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money series. It's here on YouTube and I'll leave a link below. Mike is a very knowledgeable guy and I've had some great long conversations with him about the economy. If you are into reading and you want to know more about the history of the Federal Reserve, I recommend the book by G. Edward Griffin, The Creature from Jekyll Island. So anyway, I think I'll stop talking now. Thanks for watching this video. This has been DeGogo. You've been watching Cold Fusion. Feel free to subscribe to this channel if you're new. This isn't the stuff I normally make, but I think you'll like the other stuff anyway. I really hope you learned something from this video, and I'll see you again soon for the next.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Berger. This is evidence. This is proof that what we're doing here is worthy. It's a worthy cause. Mr. Berger, if you don't mind letting us know when we should expect a return to the big board, because we're all waiting with bated breath. What is the time that we should go back to the big board? Because we do have some program elements to fill on our way to the big board, but that's why we're here. Mr. Berger, what's the answer on that?
Well, the numbers are crunching right now, so we're going to have a total for you in just a couple minutes. I'll give you a shout out when I'm ready.
All right, we'll be waiting for that shout out. And all over the country, I've got to tell you, folks are gathering. We're getting on. We've got people online with us now from South Africa is on the line. England is on the line. You know what time it is over in other parts of the world? That's great. We're even joined by the real Browns, Mr. Willie and Miss Sherry Brown in Atlanta, Georgia. Come on, somebody. They're on the line with us today. Shantae Faye is here with us. She reminds us that we got to get our weight up. Is that right? Craig JP is with us. We're changing the game in carrot bars. Right here from Virginia, Miss April Songbird Muhammad from Team Freedom and the Woodward Group. She's on the line with us too. April, good to see you. Glessy Brown from Phoenix and James Head from Cleveland, Ohio, and Delisa Moore and Alan Austin Jr. just wants us to know that he put him down for 36 grams on the Gram-A-Thon today, saving in gold and having a good time doing it, doing well for yourself and doing good for others at the same time. This is what it's about. doing well for yourself, doing good for others at the very same time. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to remind you that Sister Velma Jackson Lewis is right. She said that golden minds think alike because she and our sister, Dr. Gwendolyn Bonner in New Jersey, are talking alike. Sister Fatima's talking alike. Tyrone Gilbert is on the line with us. Ty, all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio. Call me, Coach. We got work to do about this great program. From Sonia Ford Townsend and April Songbird and Fatima and Marcus, you already heard who all is here, but we want to make sure everybody knows what we're doing this afternoon. Mr. McKay, I want to turn the chair to you and direct this question to you because as you spoke earlier about policy and systems, that was clear. We have to have a system that fights the system that is doing the wrong thing by doing the right thing. But the question is, how do we start? When folks are getting on this Gram-A-Thon today, they're watching us via Facebook, they're watching us via the various different means of social media. How do we take steps today to make changes for ourselves and our families? Mr. McKay?
Well, the first thing we know is that we have to take the first step. Many times, for those that are in faith, as they say, you're going to have to get out of the boat. I don't know what boat you're in. I don't know what port you're on, but you're going to have to do something. You have to take a step. And it is fortunate now that what we're doing now is wide in the open. And I just love that everything that we're doing is documented. Everything can be tracked. Everything can be traced. And so what we're sharing with people, I mean, we're almost like Robin Hood. We're out here making things right, and folks having a hard time with right. So then it's like Mr. Delco said, get yourself a free account. Get with the person who shared this with you and register for your free account and begin to learn what it is to honor yourself. It begins with you, but it begins with taking that first step.
There's no doubt about it. Yes, sir. And in taking the first step, get back to the person who shared this video with you or by whose means you saw it. If it was on their page, call them. If it was inbox them, get in touch with them. Make sure that you're letting your voice be heard. Like, hey, I've got to make a difference here. I've got to do something that I hadn't done before. And that's the avenue that we want to take right now. We've got to do something progressive, and we can't wait to do it until later. We've got to do it right now. Think about the irony. Think about
Minister Jamil, I have a number for you, sir.
Whoa, you got a number for us, Mr. Rodney Berger, just like everybody.
But I do have a question for you.
Drum roll.
Yes, drum roll, please. Go ahead with the question, Mr. Berger.
Did Alan Alston want us to put that entry in for him?
Oh, I'm sure he did. 36 grams. It was in the comment section on
drum roll.
Facebook.
36, right? I didn't get that in this total, but I'll make sure I get that in after we get this out. So you guys ready?
Yes, sir. We're ready.
Also, Mr. Berger, also see if Mr. Austin wants to be in the panel.
Is he on? I didn't see him in the list here, sir. You're breaking up, Mr. Delco.
And you talking about
We're losing.
Oh, I didn't see him either. So see if he wants to be in. If he does,
You're coming in and out, Mr. Delco.
To the panel. I was just saying, invite him into the panel if he wants to be in for sure. Can you hear me? Okay.
Off and on, Mr. Delco, but I do not see him.
Can you hear me, Mr. McKay?
I hear you now.
Yeah, Mr. Delco, I don't see him on the list to pull from.
No problem. You can.
Can you hear us?
You can carry on. Yeah, I can hear you. You can go ahead. I'm in a.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
All right, so what I'm going to do now on the Gram-O-meter is we have now acquired since 4:10 p.m. So we're a little bit off on the time today, but we're having an amazing time discussing what we've been learning from that video. And if you've missed that video, you're going to have to get back to the replay of this live stream. But listen, right now we have 396.2 grams as of 4:10 p.m. today. And for those of you who have gotten combo pack, include those grams into your account today. Don't forget to do that. All right. As to make sure you, and if you got a business package today, include the gram count that comes with that business package, even if it's a 1/10 of a gram. All right. So again, our total is 396.2 grams out of 410. Minister Jamal Muhammad, back to you.
Wow, this is what's going on, Mr. Berger. I'm overwhelmed by the progress of what you just said, because when you think about those folks who are taking advantage of the combo package offer that's on the table for just about another 48 hours, revolutionizing the world, I couldn't help but, as I listened to the video talking about how the world of banking moved money away from reality and into debt and illusion, it became so much sleight of hand, like a 3-card Molly game. It became leisure domain. Poof, presto, changeo. You didn't see what you thought you just saw. But now when you look at what Mr. Seitz is doing with Karatbars International, we're literally moving money step by step into the world of reality to hold value for real people. And the real people who money is holding value for today, we're the people who are not being fooled into making more debt. I saw Mr. Ronald Coleman make a statement today that made a lot of sense. He said, if you're going to Black Friday, and it's really Gold Friday, but they call it Black Friday. If you're going to Black Friday and you're going to buy a $1,000 TV for $600, did you save $400? No, you didn't. You just spent $600. Because don't think that they're ever going to sell you anything that they lose money on. They're still making their money. But the point is, that was marked up so artificially in that fiat currency and in the economy of falsehood that everything you get there, you have to look at it and take it with a grain of salt. Not so with gold. Gold is God's money. So we want to welcome to the line this afternoon those who are moving and making progress. We've got the triplets on here. Y'all know the triplets, the Muhammads. That's Rashid El Muhammad and Tommy Muhammad and Charlotte Muhammad. Not really triplets, but that name is so common in the Muslim community that we want to welcome all of the Muhammads on the line. Shantae Faye says it again. She said, hey, get your weight up and make it happen. And those are the things that we're going to do. So yes, it's called Black Friday back there, but it's really Gold Friday. Time for us to get our weight up. We might as well say it the way it is. Get your weight up. If we're at 396.2 grams of gold, who else do you know that's saving gold for themselves and celebrating with their friends, encouraging their friends to save for themselves and leveraging the entire effort? Mr. Michael Delco says it to us like this. He says sometimes he has to sit back and think, wait a minute, I'm in a compensation plan so good with a company so honest and so fair that when I save gold for myself, I get paid. And then if I tell somebody else to save gold, I get paid when they do it. What kind of world is that? It seems odd because we're coming out of that old world. But going forward into something new, Brother Rodney, that means we're making a difference. And so the face that you see on your program monitor now is our brother. He's in New York, Mr. Rodney Berger. Mr. Berger, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. You know, we have another video we want to talk about. It's called The Secret World of Gold.
It's called?
I'm going to talk about the real money, the secret world of gold. But, you know, I was laughing to myself because, you know, we always hear about everybody trying to lose the weight, and there's all these weight loss programs. But we're the only program that's got the best weight gaining program.
Drop it. Drop it.
Woo. And I'm telling you, I hear that on people say that on the call, get your weight up. Man, what's the best place to do it? It's right here. It's get your weight up in gold. All right. So as you lose your weight, gain it back with gold. How about that? So,
yes, sir.
Right. So we're gonna.
Should we deal with Tanisha's question on after the video, because she has a good question. That's.
You want to do that now?
Yeah. Well, she asked me to have a few more moments. She's going to get some things together for us in terms of research and some information to have with us. But Mr. McKay, Mr. Berger, you're exactly right. We do expect for the diva from the desert, the best from the West, herself, Ms. Tanisha Glaspie, to join us on this live feed this afternoon to discuss why you even need a credit score. So she can come in now, or she can come in when you want to after the video, Mr. Berger. It's up to you. But sit at that control desk and push those buttons, bro. You making it happen. Do it, Mr. Berger.
All right. Well, Ms. Glaspie, are you ready now? Or do you need some more time?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for having me on here today. So the question that I have is, why is it that we feel that we need a good credit score? I worked at Equifax for 3 years for 9 attorneys. And I'm trying to understand why people feel like they need good credit. Instead of thinking about raising your credit score, why don't we feel like we can make enough money and just pay cash for everything? Why waste time trying to fix credit? Why not spend that time making more money so you don't need credit? I'm not saying just go out and jack your credit up. Why not focus on making more money so you can pay cash for a house? I'm not talking about little things. Why can't we pay cash for a house? Why can't we pay cash for a car? The answer I usually get when people answer the question is most people can't afford to buy a house with cash. Most people can't afford to buy a car with cash. Why can't you? Why just accept the fact that we can't do it? Why can't we do it? There's a reason why we can't do it. Actually, we can, but we're focusing on why we can't. Let's focus on how can we buy that car with cash, or how can we buy that house with cash? Isaac Matias is the perfect example that we can. He's a Carabar's affiliate. He came from the poorest country in South Africa. They could only eat once a day, but he just purchased a house and paid 99% cash. So we can do it. We have the vehicle to do it. But yeah, that's all. That's all I had to say for the day. I want us to change the way we think and stop thinking that we need credit, because we don't. There are unconventional ways of doing things where you can get a house with no credit whatsoever. But the people with the broke mentalities, the poverty mindset, all we do is go off of what someone else told us and how they did things. And we think that's the only way. And then we end up going deeper and deeper in debt because of the interest that we're paying from the loan that we got. We just need to change our mindset. That's all.
Put you out of business.
Can I add something to that? Oh my gosh. We were we have a good friend of ours who is a realtor, and we were, dream hunting. Okay. We weren't at the position to get a house at the time, but she was willing to take us out to dream hunt for a house. Like, actually walk in a house that we dreamed to have. All right. So I said, in the future, when we're able to do this, you have somebody we can get in touch with. And she had a friend that was a lawyer that helped. So we contacted her and said, eventually we're going to be paying cash for a house. And do you know what she said to me? You don't want to pay cash for a house.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get a loan and leverage your extra income from the loan and not pay off. And I'm thinking, and when Ms. Glaspie said that, they're trying to make you think that getting into debt is actually helping you. Maybe in some cases it may, not to put that down, but it's still the mindset is, why can't I just pay my house in cash? I don't want to owe anybody anything. But that's the concept and the mindset that's out there. Back to you.
Yes, sir. I want to say this while we're there, Mr. Berger. Ms. Glaspie, thank you for coming on board the panel every week. It's a pleasure to hear from you and see you. But I want to just remind us all that Ms. Tanisha Glaspie will be with us for the remainder of the Gram-A-Thon today. You will be able to ask her a question. But in your comments, Ms. Glaspie, you made a key elemental statement. You talked about the fact that it changes a mindset. to move to purchasing what you can afford by means of cash. That is called, and it's an old saying, it sounds quaint, it sounds old-fashioned, but debt is built on tricking you out of what I'm about to say. This old phrase, nobody even uses it anymore, but it's called living within your means. Living within your means. That means having what you can afford to have and working to improve what you can afford. Having what you can afford to have and working to improve what you can afford. When you do that, you live within the means of freedom from debt. It's not a coincidence that debt is referred to as slavery. It's not a coincidence that in European countries for many years leading up to the 20th century, there were institutions called debtors' prisons, where when you could not service a debt, you went in to give hard labor to folks who contributed to control the society. What it is with us is that we keep becoming a prisoner further and further in debt. So Miss Tanisha Glaspie's on the line with us. She's not going to leave you. She's going to be here. Mr. Gregory McKay, he's right here with us. He's settled in to his pilot's chair, rich Corinthian leather, and he's going to be with us for the remainder of the program. So you don't have to worry whether he's going to be there. Of course, Mr. Berger and his team are with us at the big board in New York City. We're also expecting to hear from Mr. Tyrone Best. He's not feeling his best today. He may be making a couple of pop-in, pop-out cameos, but when he does that, he's still Ty Best. Mr. Michael Delco's here. We're going to hear from the Gram-A-Thon mom, Shelby Thompson. She's going to come on the line, as well as her dynamic husband, Mr. Kevin 2X Thompson. So we got a lot more show in store for you. Let's go back to Mr. Rodney Berger and the video screen so we can begin taking some notes. Mr. Berger?
Billions of years ago, the Earth passed through an exploding star and was showered in molten gold. The Incas called gold the sweat of the sun and told their stories with it. The Egyptians saw it as the breath of God and buried their pharaohs in it.
I kind of think that gold has an allure that is rooted somehow in our collective unconscious.
In India, the Golden Temple of Amritsar is a sacred destination, a reminder of how most of the great religions celebrate gold. In all of the world, no other word still evokes such wealth and power.
If you ever look at gold, it's an extremely beautiful, I mean, I'd rather have a gold coin than a mass of paper dollars. The gold coin is going to survive forever, and the paper dollars are going to be destroyed.
The Romans called gold the muscles of war. With gold, a triumphant Napoleon gilded Paris. To finance the Third Reich, the Nazis were determined to capture the gold of Europe.
Gold was the ultimate guarantee of national survival.
Even today, gold shines in the world of high finance.
Gold is the largest commodity market on the planet Earth. They make billions of dollars in a single day by manipulating the market.
From China in the east to America in the west, the question ricocheting around the world is simple and troubling. Where is the gold? Is America's gold in Fort Knox? And if so, who really owns it?
I think you have to assume that all the gold's not there.
How is it possible that for every 100 ounces traded on electronic exchanges, there may not be even 1 ounce of real gold backing it up?
The term Ponzi scheme comes up. The customer or client thinks he or she has something, but doesn't.
There's not a lot of it. All the gold ever found would only create a cube 70 feet by 70. Even melted down, it's just enough to fill 3 Olympic swimming pools. Yet gold's magic continues to keep us in its thrall. When Moses descended Mount Sinai to deliver the 10 Commandments, he flew into a rage, finding his followers worshiping gold, a golden calf. Today, Western central bankers get almost as frustrated at those who stubbornly value gold over paper money. While India, China, and Russia buy gold by the ton, the big Western nations would prefer gold remain in a museum. Here on Wall Street at the American Museum of Finance, the precious metal is commemorated by a solid gold Monopoly set. The museum director, Richard Silla, is not so sure that gold's day is done.
The golden rule is really those who have the gold rule.
In the world's great financial centers, New York and London, billions of dollars of every kind of metal are traded in the blink of an eye. Gold and silver are traded in code, where the flick of a wrist can spell hundreds of millions of dollars in profit or a disastrous loss. Andrew McGuire has moved in that world as a precious metal trader for decades.
I've specialized in gold and silver trading for the last 30. In fact, I view gold and silver as my children. I know everything about the gold and silver market. I know why they move, and I know who's behind it.
The drama revolves around bullion banks, giant international banks licensed to deal in gold and silver. McGuire says that week after week, some gold and silver traders bragged about how they used insider trading to manipulate the price of silver and gold. But it was a bottle of champagne that drove McGuire to become a whistleblower.
When I see somebody celebrating with a 1,000-pound bottle of champagne because they're high-fiving each other because they took the price of silver down, on the other side of that are real people with real lives. What set me off was the realization that when you manipulate a commodity, such as silver or gold or corn or oil or whatever it might be, it has a real-world impact.
McGuire says those market fluctuations don't just hurt investors, but they can have a devastating impact on mining communities in countries like Bolivia. Many point to the drop in the price of silver in 2008 from $21 an ounce to less than $9 as a prime example of market manipulation.
Entire communities lost their jobs, and in some instances there was suicides. And that really, really got to me, and I thought, you know, something has to be done here.
Gold mines are just as vulnerable to market manipulation. Extraction of the precious metal from the ground has changed little in thousands of years. To produce 1 ounce of fine gold requires an average of 38 man-hours, 1,400 gallons of water, and liters of cyanide. In South Africa, 400,000 men, 90% of them black, toil in mines deeper than 2 kilometers in temperatures greater than 130 degrees. The history of gold is stained with the blood of those who toil for it. Its dark power has been used for centuries to finance everything from war to mass murder. Historian Duncan McDowell.
Countries with gold were countries that wouldn't be pushed around, that could fight wars, that could build up their economies. So this notion of gold as being the kind of foundation plate of national sovereignty was fundamental to the way the Western world saw itself.
Gold was a driving force in the Second World War. In late 1938, Austria welcomes Adolf Hitler as a conquering hero in the land of his birth. But the image of a powerful Führer cloaks a surprise weakness. Behind the scenes, the head of the German central bank has a bleak message for his leader. Hjalmar Schacht warns Hitler that Germany is bankrupt. Its gold is spent. Hitler fires him. But Hitler will soon go to war not only for territory, but for gold. In 1939, Hitler captures Austria and Czechoslovakia without firing a shot. A special Nazi unit seizes their gold. Next, the Germans invade Poland. Poland fights back. The Polish army and resistance are ordered to hold out long enough to get Poland's gold out of the country. 75 tons of gold, worth billions of dollars today, are launched on a perilous journey through Romania, Turkey, and Lebanon, traveling south and east before arriving in France. But the gold would not be safe for long. In June 1940, Germany invades Luxembourg, Holland, Belgium, and France. The 14th of June 1940, the Germans occupy Paris, which surrenders without a fight. The Nazi gold squad arrives here at the Bank of France, demanding the gold of France, all $3 billion worth. But historian Didier Brunel says they were met with a big surprise.
They demanded to go into the vault and saw that it was empty. Of course, they were furious.
French central bankers had planned for this moment for years. Ever since Hitler came to power, the French began hiding the gold in 51 separate caches around the country, always less than a day's drive from an escape port. Now France prepares to get the gold out of the country. In a secret operation from cities large and small, the gold is moved at night, dispatched to ports along its coast. The German army is not far behind. Historian Tristan Gaston Breton says everyone was trying to disguise a growing panic.
There was panic, and we had to use whatever was available. Warships, merchant ships, trawlers, fishing boats, anything we could find to evacuate as much gold as possible. It was a masterpiece of successful improvisation.
Today, these Atlantic harbors are home to sailboats, cruise ships, and ferries. In the desperate summer days of 1940, virtually the entire French Navy, including battleships and aircraft carriers, is mobilized to save the gold. Westward goes the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. 83 million glittering ounces, more than the cargoes of all the ancient Spanish treasure ships combined. The gold of France and Poland, bound for safe haven in Canada and the United States. It's still unknown how many ships carrying gold and silver bullion were lost to German submarines during the 2 world wars. Those sunken bullion ships and many from bygone wars prove irresistible to companies like Odyssey Marine. No story about gold is complete without a treasure quest. It's all very modern. Odyssey is even listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange. The company operates out of a secret location in Tampa, Florida. President Mark Gordon says there is no shortage of wrecks.
The United Nations estimates there's 3 million shipwrecks on the ocean floor. The only way to transport wealth until the mid-20th century was on ships. So there are billions of dollars of gold and silver littering the sea floor.
It's pretty amazing.
Tom Detweiler was part of the deep ocean team that found the Titanic. Now he brings his skill to search for gold 3 miles deep.
The sinking of one of these ships could cause large companies literally to go out of business, countries to take a different course in their history, and literally change the world.
When we come back, gold and the ghost of Imperial Spain.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Mr. Berger.
Never fly first class. It ruins flying in coach forever. And that's exactly.
Let me interject here, Mr. Berger. Let me thank you for what we've seen thus far. I don't want anybody to get circuit overload, but we are learning today on the Gram-A-Thon information which will be valuable to us to help us understand the global ramifications of what we're doing on a local level. We're going to think globally and act locally. The action that we take will be for us to begin saving in gold, acquiring cryptocurrency, and building networks of folks who do the same. This is essential. Mr. Berger, while I have you there, are you able to hear me? Mr. Rodney Berger?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Sorry.
Quick question. We wanted to find out from you. I'm having inbox requests from, in fact, 2 folks who just got an 8K and a 3K in the same family. That's from Miss Anne Marie Charles and her brother Anthony Charles. They just got 8K and 3K respectively. How can they record their totals in with the Gram-A-Thon totals today?
Well, they would know if they use cash gold to purchase the combo pack.
Okay. Okay.
So whatever, how many total grams of cash gold they use, that's what you report.
Okay. And so they can report that. And if they purchase the combo packs directly with debit cards, then they would notice they would have to compute.
There was no gold purchase. There was no gold involved.
No gold. Okay. Okay. Very good. So we have that, and we are moving quickly. Everybody understand what happens? So we got what we did that way to make sure we're on top of everything today. So we're a win-win situation. If you acquired your 8K or 3K or 5 or 15K package by directly purchasing it, you win because you have the world's only cryptocurrencies backed by gold. If you acquired them by means of cash gold, then you win because that contributes to our overall total for our team, and you still got the 3K, 5K, 8K, or 15K combo pack. So we're just winning everywhere we turn. Thank you so very much. And I really want to make sure everybody understands what we're doing here. I want to welcome a few more folks before we go, Mr. Berger, to the father of the Gram-A-Thon. You know, because anytime you're married to the Gram-A-Thon mom, you're the Gram-A-Thon pop. And so we want to hear from Mr. Kevin 2X Thompson. He'll be with us in just a moment. But we want to remind you, everybody, that we've been joined by folks from throughout this country and around the world. I want to welcome Mr. Michael Carlos Muhammad on from Phoenix, Arizona. Brother Derek Jabril is with us. Also, Miss Dalen No Name. You know, Dalen is out here in the DMV area, and we really appreciate her there in her work. Yasin Ahmad is also with us, a dear brother from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, reminding us if you wanted to get a loan, you do have the ability to collateralize a loan with an asset, and you don't need a FICO, nor do you need to pay interest. You can negotiate the terms. So we're helping each other in practical ways this afternoon. So before we get back to Ms. Tanisha Glaspie and return to the video, we want to hear from now a gentleman who, as the one of the leaders of Team Freedom, has been making a difference in the Carrot Bars community and certainly in wealth builders worldwide. Mr. Kevin 2X Thompson, if you don't mind coming forward at this time. Mr. Thompson, what are your concepts? Let us know what your ideas are regarding the Gram-A-Thon, how important it is to us, how we're moving at this particular time. If Mr. Kevin Thompson is available, please come forward at this time. Mr. Thompson? Trying to get his microphone open. All right. Thank you. We'll come back to Mr. Thompson. Tech team has let us know that in just a few moments he'll be available. I do want to throw, Mr. McKay, you said something clearly earlier about the importance of Ms. Glaspie's question. Before we get back to her in the desert, Mr. McKay, what would you like for her to focus on in terms of answering that question or shining a light on it? So we know we're having power issues all over the country, and when folks' phones are running down, we want to talk quick. Go ahead, sir.
Well, one thing that was that came to me is that I said honesty and truth will put some things out of business. So we have this honest money here, and so we're actually in position to put credit out of business. There are businesses out there that, and again, we always say we're not against anything. We're for everything, but we're just saying what you can do with your money. But when you have an honest money and an honest money system, it allows you to put credit out of business. That gets to be an old relic of the past. It allows you just to change the way you think and the way you process your money, that you won't need credit. It'll be a thing of the past. It's almost like not having a footprint. And so we are in that space now where we're taking this transition from debt to wealth, and we're going from, a debt-based system to know that debt is money is such a bad thing, but we're changing all that now. And so when someone comes and approaches, say, hey, I can help your credit score. Well, I really don't need one because I can pay cash. And so we're empowering people to be able to do that. But I do want to jump to that video that we just saw, which was very powerful. It talked about gold being the ultimate guarantee. It didn't say, it's something that works on Mondays and Tuesdays, or just in the 20th century or the 19th century or the 18th century. It says gold is the ultimate guarantee. So it's the ultimate form of money that would withstand everything in time. And so everybody that participates in this ultimate guarantee is restored. You're actually restored. Man, I hope that, boy, it's like you said, I hope you can hear what we're saying.
Yes, indeed. Because when we see restoration is only necessary when devastation is taking place beforehand. When you've been devastated and laid low, you need to be restored and brought up. And this is what's happening with us, honestly, decently, in a scientific and mathematically proven way. So what you're saying, Mr. McKay, is that the answer to some of our individual and community problems is to actually begin to practice thrift and austerity and saving. Is that what you're saying?
That's it. That's it. In the right asset.
In the right asset.
In the
So
right asset.
to save in that which is imaginary is really imaginary saving. I just want to say that again.
Yeah, you got to say that again.
To save, okay, to save in that which is imaginary is really imaginary saving. You think you have something of value. I've seen people walk to their offices and pull aside a portrait on the wall and open up a safe and dial the combination and pull the door open and reach in to grab the contents of the safe. And what they get out of the safe is some papers, fancy printed papers. And those papers are absolutely worthless if they're attached to something that has no value in the first place. You're being promised to be paid in a currency that is losing what little value it had in the first place. Save in gold. Gain and acquire cryptocurrency that is backed by gold. And when you do that, you're making the advantage for your family that you never even imagined. You never even imagined. Get to that level and start making progress for you and for your people. You'll be glad that you did. And when I say your people, I mean your peeps. Yes, go right ahead.
I have something I want to show everybody.
Yes, sir.
This is another shocker, and this is a good shocker, but it's also an amazing shocker. How about that?
Yes.
Term for shocker here. But, I don't know if you've anybody familiar with this website. It's the us.debtclock.org.
Yes, sir. We've seen it.
Yeah, you see it. All right. So if you look right now, currently, let me get my little flashlight so y'all can see what I'm doing. If I can find it. There we go. The spotlight. There we go. All right. So if you look here, it's showing us as of right this moment, we're over 21 trillion. What is that again? The 21 trillion of money, according to the Federal Reserve. Okay, debt. That's debt. They're saying it's money. We're saying it is not money. It's a lie. But anyway, we got 21 trillion in debt. Plus, it's getting close to the 22 trillion. But here's the reason I wanted to bring this up. And I don't know if you can see this clear, but if you go down to the bottom right corner of this page, it tells you that back in 1913, the price of the dollar to gold ratio was $29.11 per ounce.
Okay, 29.11 in 1913. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, today, right this moment, the dollar to gold ratio, the true value of gold, is $4,562 per ounce.
So there's been manipulation in the financial markets. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Berger?
That's what the video said. I didn't say that. I'm not making any words on that. That's what the video just said a minute ago.
Sir.
Regarding them, they're manipulating the gold.
Wow.
So, guys, if you want to see the true value of what gold is, this is the place to get it. It's the usdebtclock.org. And one thing I'm going to bring to y'all's attention, I got to figure out how to stop this screen. Let me get back to where I was. There we go. Back to my mouse. Close that. There we go. Stop the share. All right. So You all remember the story when Mr. Dalco took his gram of gold and he went and got a watch, a $250 watch? That day, that particular day, I figured out on the debt clock that his gram of gold and the true value, if you divided, the ounce to the gram, was $250. So the owner of that jewelry store, he knew that that gram was worth $250. That watch was nothing for him. He was happy to, quote, exchange that watch for that 1 gram of gold because he knew the true value of gold. But I told Mr. Delco that, I said, you realize that day, according to the debt clock, that's how much the gold ratio was per dollar. And you divided it by the amount to the gram, it was around $250.
Wow.
Value of gold. Isn't that something?
Wow. Amazing how standard and steady it is. Like Mr. Delco said at the top of the program today, that gold actually preserves and holds. It's a store of value. That was the language that he used. He talked about how in the Roman Empire, an ounce of gold could actually outfit a Roman gentleman in clothing and appropriate attire for him to handle business for his affairs. And today, an ounce of gold will dress a grown man to go into the world of business and handle his affairs. It's held value, while the dollar, while the franc, while the lira, while the euro, while the yuan, while the yen, and all the other currencies of the world fluctuate up and down in value. We have to be reminded of what the French philosopher and thinker Voltaire once said. He said that all fiat currency will eventually return to its original value. And you know what the original value is? Zero. I give you back to Mr. Rodney Berger. He'll take us into our program. Mr. Berger, back to you.
Mr. Jamil, I wanted to chime in there for a second, because one of the big things that we are bringing to the forefront, because we're talking about systems and everyone learning that for your success, you will benefit the most out of a system. And we happen to have a system that's rivaled by all of them, but none can compare. So think about the Federal Reserve System that has leveraged the world paper currencies. And I have plenty of them here. That these all here are currencies across the world that have something in common, is that they're backed by nothing. So they have nothing that restores them or keeps them or lifts them up or do anything. They're just dead paper money. So the Federal Reserve has used leverage to leverage the world 1.4, 1.6 quadrillion paper dollars, and for us to pay interest on that money around the world. And what Karatbars is simply doing is leveraging the world through gold to give everybody their money back. Mm-hmm. We're saying, come into this system, get into the leverage of this system so that everybody in this system can be restored and be made whole through leverage.
Restoration, being made whole through leverage. This is the mathematics, the divine mathematics that is informing the activity that we're doing. If you don't accept the divine, that's fine. We'll call it sublime mathematics. If you don't like the term sublime, then we'll call it the best mathematics that there is, because whatever you're looking for, it reconciles, it settles to truth, it settles to freedom, it settles to justice, it settles to an equality of opportunity for people of every standing to make their way in the world. The only people who don't want you to be successful at Karatbars, to be successful in building this kind of family and team, are the people who took advantage of you and were the ones celebrating, like you heard in the video, by clinking glasses full of $2,000 champagne. and celebrating that they manipulated the financial markets, drove down the price of silver, but also in so doing wrecked many average people who had put their investment there and didn't have an understanding of how to leverage that investment. We have that understanding. Carrot bars, we have the goods. We have what it takes. I'm waiting for Mr. Kevin 2X Thompson to come to the microphone right after we finish this segment of the video, Mr. Berger. But as we finish this segment of the video, we'll also hear back from Ms. Tanisha Glaspie out in Phoenix, Arizona. We'll have Mr. McKay. He's not leaving us. He's settled into the chair to take your comments and questions, and we'll be back with more after this video gives us more information about which to ask. Mr. Berger, can we go back to the big screen, sir?
Yes, sir. So before we get to the actual video, we're going to look at the count as of 4:45 and then bring that up.
Yes, sir.
And as of 4:45, we were up to 447 grams of gold.
447,
gentlemen.
All right.
So
yes.
That's
447 grams.
Yep,
that's almost half a kilo.
Grams as of 4:45. So let's get back to the rest of this video, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Gold and silver have always had a special allure for mankind. Since the dawn of civilization, men have been willing to risk everything for these precious metals. Odyssey Marine's Tom Detweiler.
It was always something special, and one of the reasons is its permanence. It can lay in the bottom of the ocean for hundreds of years and come up and it's still shiny. It's still got all the detail in it. It's perfectly preserved.
In 2007, Odyssey Marine was mapping the ocean floor off the coast of Portugal when they got lucky. It was a giant spill of gold and silver coins resting on the ocean floor. Odyssey could not identify a shipwreck in the area, which deepened the mystery, but immediately they knew they had something big.
What we found really wasn't a shipwreck anymore. It was just the remnants of the cargo that had been aboard that ship. Lots of coins, because we found about 600,000 of them, and we know there's still many more down there.
We suddenly realized this was a very large vessel that had something very catastrophic happen to it.
They transported the find to Florida. The trove was estimated at $500 million. Odyssey registered their find in a U.S. court to await any competing claims. Enter the Spanish government. Spain argued that the treasure was from a Spanish vessel named Nuestra Señora de las Mercedes. It turns out England resumed the war with Spain by sinking the ship in 1804. Now Spain was launching a full-scale diplomatic campaign to get back gold it had plundered 200 years earlier. Peru also filed a claim, saying the treasure was stolen from the Incan people. It is estimated that upwards of 1 million Incans were killed in unequal battle against the Spanish military or worked to death in the gold mines of Peru. Their claim was dismissed. The court ruled Peru was only a Spanish colony at that time and had no claim to the treasure. Even the U.S. government got secretly involved. A WikiLeaks document reveals that to help a wealthy political donor recover a painting lost in Spain during the Second World War, the U.S. government made an offer.
If Spain would be kind enough to give this painting back to this family in the United States, that our State Department would help Spain recover the coins that Odyssey had recovered.
After spending $2.4 million recovering the silver and gold, another $2 million on legal fees, Odyssey was ordered by the court to hand the treasure over to Spain. Spinning a web of golden intrigue, once again gold's spell proves enduring. Gold taken by Spain 2 centuries earlier was returned to the plunderer. Searching for gold in the 21st century is an expensive operation, especially if you can't profit from what you recover. Undaunted by their earlier loss, Odyssey Marine plunges ahead on another wreck. It's a treasure ship 3 miles down off the coast of Ireland, a wreck that meets the stringent criteria laid down by Odyssey's Mark Gordon.
The shipwreck has to be worth at least $50 million for us to go ahead and invest in the project because it's very expensive.
After making a deal with Great Britain to split the proceeds, Odyssey is pulling up tons of precious metal from a merchant steamer called the Gersoppa. On the 17th of February 1941, the Gersoppa is carrying a cargo of silver bullion to fill a desperate coin shortage in wartime England. En route from India, she's attached to convoy SL-65. Running low on fuel, the ship slows down to 5 knots and leaves the safety of the convoy. She is hoping to make a run to Ireland's Galway Bay, 300 miles to the north. The Gersoppa is spotted by a German Focke-Wulf patrol plane. He radios her location to U-101. Commanded by Ernst Mingerson, the U-boat finds the Gersoppa. The submarine fires a single torpedo, which blows a hole in her starboard side. She sinks in 20 minutes. Only the captain survives.
There were a lot of valuable cargoes moving during wartime. Ships carrying gold and silver because they had to pay for munitions, pay for supplies, pay the troops.
The role played by the gold of England is one of the best-kept secrets of the Second World War. In 1940, England stands alone. The War Cabinet meets in this London bunker with the knowledge that France is in the hands of the Nazis and America is remaining steadfastly neutral. With a Nazi invasion that could come at any time, Churchill issues a secret order. To keep it out of Hitler's hands, all of England's gold must be dispatched across the North Atlantic to refuge in Canada. Historian Duncan McDowell.
Britain wants gold not only in its own pocket in England, but it wants it stored offshore in case, worst case scenario, Hitler comes across the channel. Churchill and the government has to leave and they have to run a government in exile. They want money to do that.
Tied to the London docks sits HMS Belfast. It's a sister ship to the cruiser Emerald, selected for the dangerous task of transporting England's fortune. In the early summer of 1940, the first shipment is loaded aboard the Emerald. The gold is crated in small boxes, 2,229 of them, with a market value today of $9.9 billion.
The British realized it might look like their government was panicking, was preparing for the absolute worst outcome. So the British keep it very hush-hush.
The operation codename is deceptively simple. Operation Fish. On the 23rd of June, 1940, the Emerald puts out to sea. Destination Halifax, Nova Scotia. British coastal waters are especially dangerous. The Emerald is given a heavy escort for the first stage of the voyage. Then the cruiser is hit by a savage North Atlantic storm. It almost capsizes. On the 1st of July, 1940, the solitary warship carrying the secret cargo docks safely in Halifax. The small crates of gold labeled simply Fish are unloaded under military guard and put aboard a secret train bound for Montreal and Ottawa. In Ottawa, the gold is stored in the vaults of the Bank of Canada. In Montreal, the precious cargo is put in the vaults of the Sun Life building, then the biggest building in the Commonwealth. There would be many similar voyages, but for the duration of the war, not a word leaks out.
Mr. Berger, if you could stop for just a quick second.
Coming up, questions about another.
So if you can stop for a quick second, I hope we don't go down a rabbit trail right here, but I just gotta make sure we're all watching the same video. So I don't want you to get caught up in the entertainment value. In the entertainment value of the video, but why would they do that? Here's the question I want everybody that's watching. Why would they go through all of that to load gold on ships, having torpedoes fired at them, to dock it offshore away from Hitler? Why would they do that about the gold? It's like your house is burning down. Here comes an invader, and your house is burning down, and the only thing you take out of the house is the gold. Why would they do that? And if you answer that question for yourself, you will know clearly why we're doing this Gram-A-Thon, Minister Jamil. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's no doubt about it. And that line of reasoning, Mr. Delco, is the simple, direct thought that means it's time for us to get up and go. And when the phrase "let's go" is issued, then we've got to do that. Brother Macedon down in Georgia reminds us it's about value. It's about value. So our teammates are gathering now. We're coming in from work. We're coming in from various places that we've been. So we see now that we've been joined by Dr. Gwendolyn Bonner of New Jersey. She's on the line with us. Zachary Muhammad out in Memphis, Tennessee is with us. Miss Cheryl 24K Ray is with us down in Georgia. Donovan Yarborough is with us. Derek Jabril is with. Oh man, we got all of us are gathered now. Now we're moving to do the things that Mr. Delco just talked about. Let's not lose ourselves in the entertainment value of the well-produced videos that we're watching, but let's remember that the real value of the gold is what everyone is concerned about. Did you see how Adolf Hitler was willing to take his army, risk life, kill other people to take gold? That gold was the issue, and now we have a means to move gold in such a way without that kind of risk, without that kind of harm potentially coming to us. Just standing up and doing for our families what we've got to do is the right place for us to be. So I'm very glad to be on this teleconference with all of you. This great Gram-A-Thon is something else to see. Mr. McKay, you wanted to add something to that, sir?
Yeah, it just brought to me that the store of wealth was once hidden. Again, we're talking about the 1%, and so we've joined that illustrious class, but not to keep it hidden. So the hidden secrets of money are being brought forth, and it's all because of wealth builders worldwide bringing this known. So you think about the store of wealth being hidden from a system whose operation, its mere existence is that debt is money. Everything is all debt. And so now we brought that which was once hidden out in the open, and so that everybody can be restored. And this thing about that, I think was the video before, it talked about 3 million ships on the bottom of the ocean, 3 million on the floor. And it brought to me saying, do you know that your wealth can rest? You got gold. And when the word is saying, I give you the power to get wealth and add no toil to it, the only element on this entire planet that will give you rest is gold.
Think about that. Think about that. In the paradise that most of us understand, it's talking about us walking some streets of what? Gold.
Gold.
That the foundation of our walk into paradise is gold. That we have an understanding of the future provided by walking the way of gold. Now, that can't be any heaven somebody else is talking about somewhere else other than right here. I used to like when Muhammad Ali would answer the interviewer's questions and Howard Cosell would be trying to get with him. Muhammad, you said that you're organizing to do something different than ever was done before. And Muhammad Ali would comb his hair after the fight. He said, Howard, they told us to wait for some pie in the sky. By and by, when we die, we want some sound right here on the ground while we're still around. Muhammad Ali was talking about the fact that heaven begins now. He was talking about the fact that our walk in that right direction, as Mr. McKay said earlier, take the first step. And it begins now. Save and go. I don't care if you have to find $6 to make one transaction to save 1/10 of a gram of gold today. Do it. It's a noble cause. And it starts you off attracting wealth to yourself. This is a great day to be with us on the Gram-A-Thon. Are there any other panel members who have to present before we go back for our last portion of the video? We want to know now. Yes, go right ahead.
I don't know if this is a little too deep, but heaven is in your mind.
That's it.
It starts in your brain.
Mm-hmm. That's not just deep. That's perfectly deep, because where there is no heaven, where there's no thought of heaven, there can never be a reality of heaven. Now, we're not going to become philosophical here today, but the kingdom of heaven that we seek is within us. It's within our right and our processing of thought. And that's what gets us where we have to be. That's why we're gathered here today. This is beautiful. We're not people who are making distinctions and casting each other away on the basis of silliness. Where he's tall, I'm short, I can't work with him. She's a female, I'm a male, I can't work with her. He's young, I'm old, I can't work with him. He's black, he's white, he's short, he's tall, he's skinny, he's straight, he's gay. He's wave that away. Today, we're united in the pursuit of what is good. And that is what unites people. Thank you, Ms. Gillespie, for that comment. That makes a whole lot of sense. I want to welcome to the line, before we go back to our presenters, Mr. 5 and 5 himself out of Largo, Maryland. Mr. Christopher Chalbay is on the line with us. Good to see you, sir. I'm glad you escaped the meeting that you had with the man who looked just like Fred Sanford. We'll talk more about that in Gram-A-Thons to come. But anyway, brothers and sisters, let's get ready to go. Rita Harris from Arkansas in the DMV. She's on the line with us. And yes, I want to thank Miss Sherelle Porterman. Between she and her husband, they got 4 grams of gold saved today. So we're making progress every time we turn around. Mr. Berger, our next program segment, what will it be?
I have a quick comment. If you guys noticed, with all those shipwrecks, you notice that the gold was not destroyed. All they had to do was wash it off and clean it up, and it was ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead,
It's interesting.
No.
The treasure chests that held the gold and secured them were destroyed by the ravages of the ocean and the saline solution of the water. They were destroyed, and so the strong box trunks that were built of the strongest woods they could find, and with tin and aluminum and steel and metal and iron, they were secured, but the boxes themselves decayed. The shipwrecks are gone. The planks, the board, the tar, the canvas, the material of the deck and the material of the hull, they're all gone, but the gold still remains. So what will you save in? Will you make your savings in reality and real money, God's money? Or will you save in that which is imaginary? Because what I heard from Mr. McKay earlier was that if you're saving in an imaginary fund, you just imaginarily saving. You're not really saving anything. So let's get to saving something real. Let's get to saving something that makes a difference. Mr. Berger, back to you.
In the autumn of 1940, from Holland in the west to Hungary in the east, Hitler is filling his war chest with 600 tons of looted gold. The stolen gold buys oil and armaments from neutral countries like Sweden and Switzerland. Britain counters by shipping gold bars from Canada to the U.S. to buy weapons and warships. The law enabling the sale by neutral America is called cash and carry.
The war, however grimly it turned out, was a huge kind of jolt to all the economies. And America, since it had stayed neutral, yes, could benefit from this surge of British purchasing.
Orders expected to reach $1 billion for over 7,000 pursuit ships and bombers will mean jobs for additional thousands of skilled workers and a tremendous boom to the nation as a whole.
While the gold of England helps lift America out of the Great Depression, the gold of France sits on the sidelines when it is desperately needed. Churchill asks France to release its gold to help England's war effort, which includes the liberation of France. The leader of the Free French, Charles de Gaulle, refuses. He says France needs the gold after the war to rebuild.
Britain is in a really devilish position after the war, having used up their gold during the war. The French have a kind of bounty waiting for them at the end of the war.
But the French also have a shameful secret to confront at the end of the war, the Holocaust and the secret role of gold. In Paris, this is a memorial to 73,000 French Jews rounded up by French police and deported to the Nazi death camps. Like thousands of Holocaust victims, many had deposited their savings in gold into safe Swiss banks, or so they thought. After the war, when families tried to claim their gold, the Swiss bankers demanded death certificates or other impossible proofs of ownership.
That was the greatest revelation of the Nazi gold thing, that the Swiss suffered from this. They would no longer be that nation of upright bankers and chocolate makers, you know, that they were as morally tainted by World War II as the rest of us were.
An international investigation revealed that some of the gold held in Swiss banks came from Nazi extermination camps, pried from the teeth and fingers of the victims, then melted down and recast by the Nazis. It's called Totengold, death gold. In 2012, in one of the war's more macabre revelations, it was found that Hitler's personal dentist used Totengold to fill the Führer's teeth. But most of the gold went to Switzerland.
We now know in World War II that some of the Swiss bankers facilitated this laundering of gold, right down to working with the foundries to refine it, restamp it so that it could be laundered into the European economy.
The greed for gold drove the Swiss to trade for looted bullion even to Hitler's final days. In modern times, profiteering has risen to another level. The gains are now counted in the thousands of billions of dollars. In one case, involving precious metals, a large prominent bullion bank was said to be misleading its customers. Lawyer Samuel Sporn led the class action suit.
I was approached about 7 years ago by a gentleman by the name of Silverblatt, who had silver bullion, and he wanted delivery.
Mr. Silverblatt, along with thousands of customers, thought they were buying bars of silver in a vault, allocated or set aside in their name. Similar cases have arisen over gold. In addition to being charged for the silver, they were charged storage fees. But it appears there was no silver being stored.
Nowhere is it stated in clear, good English language that we are not purchasing actual commodity, gold, silver, or platinum. It's only unallocated, and it's a paper purchase. It's a position you have. You do not own the physical commodity. And then the customer says, my goodness gracious, I've been paying storage fees for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it may be. Why? The client is led to believe that he, she, or it has ownership. So that is the fraud.
The class action suit was settled in favor of those suing before it came to trial. They recouped $4.5 million in storage fees, plus interest. When it comes to buying large quantities of gold and silver, traders speak a language very few would recognize. Contracts, contangos, and coiling, algorithms, and spoofs. Just a few words to describe actions that can produce staggering profits. Whistleblower Andrew McGuire describes a bank robbery, but in this case, McGuire holds the opinion that the bank is doing the robbing. It's no ordinary bank. It's a bullion bank, an international bank licensed to deal in gold and silver.
We're showing this in silver because it's easier to see. But in gold is the largest commodity market on the planet Earth. And yet we've got the same thing going on in the virtual world of gold.
Here's how it worked. Traders waited for most of the major markets from Shanghai to London to be closed. In New York, a gold and silver market called the COMEX was open, and this is where they concentrated their dealing.
This is a virtual world. This is not real physical. There's no numbered bars necessarily behind this. Essentially, you've created electronic gold and electronic silver.
Trading anonymously, the players use what are called algorithmic trading systems to move in and out of futures contracts in the blink of an eye, 400 contracts a second. Each contract represents 5,000 ounces of silver.
Suddenly, someone gets the idea to sell nearly 45,000 contracts.
Such a massive wave of selling immediately drives the price of silver down. Investors big and small try to cut their losses and sell as the price drops. Anyone not in the game gets clobbered.
I know people who trade in the hundreds of contracts, who lost, had everything taken out.
Then, without warning, the mysterious seller reverses course and starts buying the electronic silver back. Once again, by massive buying on the electronic exchange, the trader dictates the price, making it go up and profits massively from the rise. The profit on each contract reaches $80,000. That's $80,000 times 45,000 contracts. $3 billion.
Mr. Berger, we'll stop here.
It is illegal. It's absolute.
Yeah, little stop here, Minister Muhammad Gregory McKay. Little stop here, Tanisha Glaspie. Check it out. How many times have we heard the naysayers say gold and silver are down? How many times have we heard it? See, we're Googling the wrong stuff. So we're Googling the wrong stuff. We falling for the okie doke. You know, gold is down. Gold is a bad investment. Silver is down. The market is down. Gold still buys today what it bought 500 years ago. Gold is not down. Gold is real money. They can create algorithms to make any market move up or down at will. If you still trust the government, you need prayer today. Okay?
And oil.
And oil.
Indeed.
I had to stop there because I didn't want that little moment to go by, Minister Jamil, where they showed how they created the movement of the market.
Indeed, indeed. So let's recap now. If you think that there is a devaluation of gold, don't be fooled. Gold still holds the value. The market is down. And if you trust the government today, you need prayer. And Mr. McKay, so you need some oils. And I'm going to add to that, you might need the laying on of hands. But if you trust the government, you don't have to continue to do that. You can come on. We've been trying to tell y'all. And you can see from evidence that you can trust. Because sometimes you got to bring in a third party that you can trust.
Yeah, that's the purpose of these videos today, Mr. Jamil. Great point. Mm-hmm. Look, you don't have to trust the government, nor do you have to be mad at the government. This is why I love carrot bars. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I've been full-time in this thing through two administrations, one Democratic and one Republican. And I have not suffered in either administration. It's not the government's fault. It's the money system's fault. And you have a choice today. You can stay in the money system we're in and blame Donald Trump for your woes, or you can blame Barack Obama because he set it up wrong. You can go through all that drama. Or you can just get a gold savings account, save gold, attract more wealth, refer others, and earn more cash flow and savings in gold. It's truly that simple. It's amazing. When your eyes come open right here, it's almost, I think you go through the stages of grief. I don't know those by heart, Minister Jamil, but you have anger and resentment. You have all those stages of grief, man.
You have denial, where you even deny that there's anything to grieve about. And before you reach resolution, you have to reach that stage of turmoil where you make a decision. And this is what I'm calling on you. If you're at the first time watching a video of this type, if you're on the Gram-A-Thon with us and you've never been to a Carrot Bars electronic or live event, get in touch with the person who contacted you and connected you with this broadcast. Make sure that you let them know you're ready to make a decision. The word decision is from that Latin word, decisere, which means to cut. when you have surgery, they make an incision. And it's time for you now to make a decision to cut yourself away from what ignorance you used to follow and start moving in the direction of doing something for self. Do you think you could get what you heard today from Mr. Gregory McKay and Miss Tanisha Glaspie and Mr. Michael Delco from just anywhere? Do you think that what Mr. Rodney Berger shared with you is just laying up under a tree somewhere? No, this is wisdom gained by their experience, and it has value. And they're sharing it with us, not because they're greedy and want to take from us, but rather because they are people whose hearts are good and want to share with us. I'm going to give you back to Mr. Rodney Berger. I want you to listen to him. He'll give you program direction, and we'll take this down the home stretch this last half hour and have a great, great program. Back to New York and Mr. Rodney Berger.
Yes, what I want to do, I want to play that role again with Mr. Dalco. Mr. Dalco, I'm the person out there that's hearing all this for the first time. And, I hear, that video, it said that, they've pretty much lost a lot of money, Mr. Dalco, because they thought they had this gold and this silver. So, Mr. Dalco, my question for you, the thing called care bars that this group of people talking about, is the gold, do I just get a piece of paper when I pay for this gold, or do I have to keep it in the storage, or do I actually get it? What is it about this gold that this company Care Bars has? Can you please answer that?
Yeah, short answer is you're not getting a paper contract on the gold. It's physical. You're getting the physical gold bars. And if you ever don't feel comfortable storing it, which was another point they made in that segment, that they were charging them storage fees. We don't get charged any storage fees, period. And we have the physical gold. If they wanted to charge us storage, it would be a legitimate expense. However, they don't charge us any storage. So you have the physical gold bars, and when you want them shipped home, the very integral company, FedEx, will ship the gold to your door with signature.
There's no doubt about it.
Great. Now, Mr. Gregory McKay, you're sitting like it's your office. I need to see this gold in your hand. Can you show me some of this gold? I need to see this. I hear this gentleman, Mr. Delco, answer that question, but I want to see it in your hand.
And that's a good statement. I got it sitting all around here and stuff as well too. Yeah, it's actually physical gold. And one thing I like about this thing here is that, and Mr. Delco was just saying that you have full, complete control of your money. You can order this, have it shipped home. You can get it. You can hold on to it. I got me some specialty cards, the thank you cards. Mr. Delco, he messed me up because I wanted to give these out, but I can't give them out. But I have them. But you get to have all this stuff, and you just holding it as yours. Store it for free or ship it to yourself, and you can still get it. So I got these 10th of a gram. These are thank you cards because I wanted to, thank some folks. I didn't want to give them a piece of a gift or something. This is a real gift right here. I'm having a hard time giving them away, but.
Or is that actually, what is that card?
It's a thank you card.
On that card?
Say it.
And that's gold?
That's gold. That's gold in that card. That's wealth in that card. There's real money in this card. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So those people out there that are skeptical or wondering about, we just showed them a video of paper. The illusion of you having something that's solid, but it is an illusion. We have the real truth right in our hands, and we're showing it to you. So it's evidentiary that gold is money, but it's only yours when you got it in your hands or you got access to it.
Yes,
back to you, sir.
Yes,
so
indeed.
My question is, so you said something about there's no middleman, so I don't have to go through any of you to get my gold.
No, the answer is no. The short answer again is no. you'll have a relationship, a direct relationship with Karatbars International through two of what Mr. Delco calls the most integrity-based companies in the world. Our financial partner is MasterCard. MasterCard is how you'll actually clock your earnings as you build your organization. You'll be paid 5 times a month. Today's Friday. You wonder why we're so happy? Today's payday in Karatbars land, and everybody's happy on the 4 Fridays and the first of the month. You're paid 5 times a month. That happens every month. And then our shipping partner is FedEx itself, bonded to ship all over the world to make sure that as we move gold all over the planet, there won't be any shipwrecks on the bottom of the ocean here, that we're dealing with Karatbars International, FedEx, and MasterCard. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you guys for playing along with me on that, because, you know, I want to make sure we're talking to everybody because who's watching this stream, because, you know, those questions always get asked on three-way calls. And so I just want to make sure people understood. We have physical gold that we own, and you control how you run your account. You can do whatever you want with it. If you want to do the business, there's a business side. If you want cryptocurrency, it's all there for you. So let's continue with our film. It's almost over. And then we're going to end today before the end, or we may have to go over a couple minutes, but we also want to show the new video that was released by our corporate office today. So let's finish this and wrap up this, complete this video. And then at 6 o'clock, I'll give you guys the grand total for today. Because I think this has been a great Gram-A-Thon today. I think, you know, to take these videos and then all of us to give our comments and feedback on it, it's been amazing. So let me get this set up and let's go.
Recorded history.
Illegal. Under commodity law, you're not allowed to be dictating the price on the futures market.
When we come back, Mr. McGuire goes to Washington as a whistleblower.
I woke up at 2 o'clock one morning and said, you know what, that's it. I'm going to the regulators. I can't stand this anymore.
Hi, I'm Matthew Klein. I've been trading stocks and options for 20 years, mostly unsuccessfully, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about today. What I wanted to talk to you about place a trade for a stock that I think is going to.
While their commercial is going, let's air one of our own. This is Wealth Builders Worldwide.
Greed often takes center stage.
Let's go back to
Indra McGuire believes he is confronting exactly that, as he alleges that some of the world's biggest banks were rigging the price of gold and silver and making billions doing it. In Washington, McGuire approaches Commissioner Bart Chilton at the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. Their job is to police the trading of silver and gold.
What we've seen all too often is where you have an individual trader who has excessive concentration. And when I say excessive, I mean concentration that can lead to pushing prices around. And we've seen it in precious metals, in silver, in gold, and some of the other commodities.
To back up his story, McGuire proposes going online with the CFTC investigator and guiding him through the manipulation in real time.
I was on live with him saying, right now, silver's going to go any minute now. I saw the signal come in, which is pretend offers and bids coming in and not trading. So suddenly, silver takes a drop. I warned him just before, silver is going to go down below $15. Really, he had everything in his hands, live and pre-warned, a bit like me saying to the police, there's going to be a bank robbery and an ATM machine at exactly 3 o'clock this afternoon.
The scenario unfolds exactly as McGuire prophesized. It triggers a CFTC investigation.
The Andrew McGuire circumstance gets into an investigation currently ongoing, but we're doing the best we can given the resources we have, and I think we've made some progress.
But it's an uphill battle as a poorly funded and understaffed CFTC faces off against the massive lobbying effort by the banks. The investigation is ongoing. Across most of the world, the tallest building in almost every major city is a bank tower, cathedrals of finance. The Royal Bank building in Toronto takes the cake. Towering 41 stories over the downtown, it gleams golden in the morning sunshine. The answer to where's the gold? Astonishingly, it's baked into the windows. The glass of the 14,000 panes is cooked with 2,500 ounces of gold leaf. Now that gold is valued at over $3.5 million. The effect is spectacular. It is an appropriate setting for one of the world's most successful precious metal funds.
There's a king of
The fund is run by the billionaire philanthropist Eric Sprott. He says the history of the world is the story of gold.
The oldest coin we have is from Ionia, and it's dated 580 BC. And some over here as well, I guess, that are Roman.
Pinned to the wall in contrast is $1 trillion Zimbabwe note, an inflated fate Sprott believes ultimately awaits most paper currency.
All of the gold in the world ever produced is still above ground because people don't lose track of gold.
For his investors, it's critical for Sprott to keep track of gold, and right now, he's convinced there's something wrong with the arithmetic. He has assembled a team to track gold internationally, headed by economist Frank Veneroso, a legendary gold analyst.
The gold market is a very shadowy market. It operates in all kinds of countries where there's very, very little in the way of organized information, data collection, what goes on with central banks and bullion banks. They never tell you. They never expose themselves.
In the year 2000, Veneroso conducted a forensic investigation of the movement of gold from government banks to the bullion banks. He discovered they had been covertly leasing their gold on a massive scale. Bank of England gold, for example, was leased to bullion banks. In turn, the banks took the rented gold and sold it.
The way that was done is that there would be an armored car. It would take it to Stansted Airport. That would then be flown to Switzerland. It would be re-refined in a refinery in Switzerland, which then produced little bars and big bars, which were then turned into jewelry, which was then hanging on the women of the world, right? Where is that gold now? That gold isn't around. It's not in a depository anymore.
Yet while the gold is gone, the Bank of England or Fort Knox, for example, can still claim to own the gold because it's on their books as rented, not sold. It's a dangerous game. Gold has always been seen as the canary in the mine, a barometer measuring the world's economy.
If we all woke up tomorrow and saw gold was up $100, you'd think one of three things. You'd think there's a problem in the financial community, a war has started, or somehow we're going into hyperinflation. That's the message of gold.
So what's happening now? Who is buying gold? And where is that gold coming from? Central banks in Russia and China are big buyers.
1,000 in the central banks. China, at least 500 tons. You got your ETFs are 200. So I got 1,700 right there. I haven't even gone to the U.S. Mint, the Canadian Mint. I know what their sales were in 2000.
The demand is huge. Can gold mines keep up? Sprott says no.
There's actually only 2,200 tons mined that's even available to buy.
Your conclusion then is there has to be an official sector supply, and it has to be very big.
Yeah, I'm already up to 2,400 tons now using this data. But I think the elephant's in the room already. That's my view.
For Eric Sprott, the elephant in the room is this. Western central banks are running out of gold that cannot be replaced. Could the mystery begin and end at Fort Knox? Goldfinger. Many regard the Sean Connery Bond film featuring a Fort Knox plot as the best of the early 007 movies. It won box office gold, reflecting the world's fascination with the precious metal and what really might be going on behind the gates at the United States Gold Depository, guarded at the Fort Knox Army Base. The director of the American Museum of Finance, Richard Silla, says Fort Knox has a controversial history. At the height of the Great Depression, President Roosevelt ordered Americans to turn in all of their gold. Tons of coins, ingots, and jewelry. They were paid in paper dollars at $21 an ounce.
What did Roosevelt do with the gold? Well, it was mostly melted down into gold bars and put in the Federal Gold Depository at Fort Knox, Kentucky. So that's where the Fort Knox gold came from. It used to belong to all the American people, and then the government nationalized it and put it in Fort Knox.
The fort boasts a massive new vault in the middle of a fortified army base in Kentucky. That was the last time the gold was really counted. There's a yearly audit, but it's incomplete. The last full audit in 1954 was followed by a media show and tell in 1974. But a recent attempt to force full disclosure was defeated in the Congress. Precious metal billionaire Eric Sprott says aloud what many suspect when asked, is there gold in Fort Knox?
That's a good question. There has been no audit since I think it's 1954 or something like that. An audit would not be a difficult thing to do. I think you have to assume that all the gold's not there.
By 2013, apprehension about the security of national gold reserves was not confined to Fort Knox. Venezuela took everyone by surprise by staging a political drama with gold front and center.
It was really amazing to see people marching alongside the armored trucks bringing in the gold to the country.
Nations like Venezuela know that blood, war, and conquest often flow like molten gold. In 1998, when Hugo Chavez was first elected president of Venezuela, he discovered that Venezuela's gold, once again, was in European hands, courtesy of the world's financial institutions. Journalist Eva Gollinger has written about the country's finances for years.
The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, told the Venezuelan government that in order for them to be able to secure loans and to prosper in the long term under this new type of neoliberalism, they needed to send their gold to be stored in banks outside of Venezuela.
With gold brick in hand, Chavez began a campaign to explain to the people of Venezuela why he believed it was a bad idea for the gold to be out of the country. All told, 211 tons of bullion, worth some $11 billion, was held by foreign banks.
And it wasn't until President Chavez realized that Venezuela's gold could be in jeopardy, being stored in banks in the United States and in Europe where there were extreme financial crises occurring, that the gold of Venezuela could somehow be used by these banks to cure their own internal financial woes.
Gold expert John Embry says Venezuela's demand set off a small panic on the gold market. Venezuela's gold clearly was not allocated, that is, set aside in a vault with Venezuela's name on it.
It took a long time. And I mean, it put stress on the market because they had to go out and find enough gold to ship this. And it wasn't a large amount either.
Chavez kept the pressure on. 6 months later, the government threw a grand parade to welcome home the first shipment of Venezuela's gold. Like England and France during the Second World War, Venezuela came to understand the power of gold as a guarantee of national sovereignty. But other countries haven't been so successful when they tried to repatriate their gold. Most of Germany's gold is stored in New York at the Federal Reserve Bank, the Fed. But when the Bundesbank, the German central bank, asked to see their gold in 2012, the Fed appears to have refused access, citing security concerns. Now Germany's asking for the gold back. Eric Sprott is convinced most of the German gold is gone.
Well, it's obvious they don't have all their own gold. I mean, they basically said that. We have some gold in our vaults and we have some gold elsewhere. And I don't think it's defined even how much they have in Germany. I would bet that the Germans don't have access to the gold they think they own.
Canadians, too, may be in for a shock. The nation's central bank boasts a modern headquarters that has won architectural awards, but no prize would be awarded for how they have managed the best performing asset of the last decade. The Canadian answer to "where's the gold" is simple. Except for a few bars, it's gone. All gone. Despite its international reputation for gold mining and mine financing, Canada has sold off its multi-ton gold reserve over the last 3 decades.
I think it's important that the country, in order to have some strength within the international financial community, has some gold.
Gold analyst John Embry says a monumental shift is underway in the world of gold.
What people in the West don't seem to realize, I think they're making a ghastly mistake, is that the people in the East, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, Indians, Russians, they delight in this opportunity to buy the cheap gold. So it's going west to east. And as an old adage, gold goes where the wealth is being created. I mean, it doesn't say a lot about the future of the West.
Behind the castle walls of the Royal Canadian Mint, modern alchemists are casting gold ingots and 1-ounce golden leafs to feed the growing hunger for gold. In each century, the stakes for gold get higher. In the 20th century, gold became the ultimate guarantee of sovereignty, paying for world war and mass murder. In the 21st century, gold still manages to keep its secrets. Perhaps the biggest one of all: where's the gold and who owns it?
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Berger. That's some important information. And I hope our viewers can see that there is always going to be a fight for gold. And what Karatbars has done is remove the fight and giving you sovereignty and access to your wealth that you can create for yourself, keeping your own money.
That's right. The adage reads, and it says it this way: gold goes where wealth is being created. Gold goes where wealth is being created. Does gold go into your possession? Then guess what? That's where wealth is being created. If gold has avoided you all the years of your life, that may be a part of your understanding the reason why you never had any real wealth. You had a big house, but you had a big house note. You had a fancy car, but you had a fancy car payment. You thought you owned your house, but miss a payment on that mortgage, and then the bank will show you who owns the house that you live in. But where gold goes, that's where wealth is being created. So at 5:49 this afternoon, as we prepare to wrap up the Gram-A-Thon, I think it's important that we understand the process, the means by which gold moves and what it does in the economy for each of us. The question that was on the table, and I want to be able to share this with all of us who are listening today, was some light was shed on it earlier, Mr. McKay. I think you know where I'm going. Mr. Glaspie said some things that made a lot of sense about the personal economy of our households. Many of us are struggling if we're single, struggling if we're married to make it. Some of us are single moms and single dads, and we're in an economy fighting for just a toehold in surviving. But if you listen to what Ms. Glaspie said, it's about thriving. And thriving is much more important for us to do than merely surviving. Ms. Glaspie, if you wouldn't mind opening your microphone there in Phoenix and let us know a little bit more about this idea of us developing credit. Why is it so not necessary? And what should we do instead now that the opportunity of carrot bars has been presented to us?
What we should do, everyone, first of all, should get a free gold savings account. Whether you understand anything you just heard today or not, take 30 seconds and register for free. It literally took me 30 seconds to get a free gold savings account. I began to learn for free. So just take advantage of that. Position yourself in the free position. If you need to take time to learn, do that. But don't procrastinate. We don't need credit. We think we need credit because we don't make enough money. I was making almost $100,000 a year driving tractor trailers for 15 years of my life. And I still could barely get ahead. I could barely save anything before I had to go in and spend it. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how little money you make. We all need this. Whether you're uneducated, whether you're highly educated. I have a master's degree as well. I was getting ready to start working on my doctorate until carrot bars came into my life and saved my life. I was getting ready to spend $250,000 to go deeper in debt, to go to school, to become a doctor.
You know, it's funny. You said something earlier, Ms. Glaspie, about the levels of education affecting our ability to perceive carrot bars. Could you develop that a little bit?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You said something about the people who are undereducated missing it for one reason, but people who are overeducated missing it for another reason. What did you mean by that?
So those that don't necessarily have an education, they just don't move. They don't act because they're scared, because they don't understand anything. So they don't do anything, which keeps them still in debt. But then there's those that are highly educated and think they know everything, but they're still in debt as well. I know doctors that were going to the same medical school that I was going to, in debt. They might be making $1 million, on paper, but after all is said and done, they might be taking $200,000 home. Maybe. They're lucky if they are. So it doesn't matter whether you are uneducated, highly educated, you can be broke, or you can be what you think is rich. You still need this no matter where you are, no matter what end of the spectrum you're on, you need this. So just register for free, listen and learn, please. Please, please, please. I'm a single mother. I was able to replace my income with carrot bars in less than a year. When is your job going to allow you time and financial freedom to live your life? It never will.
And when you talk about it, Ms. Glaspie, you said that you were an over-the-road truck driver. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, here's a young mom, an over-the-road truck driver, being able to provide materially, but missing the children,
everything
and missing everything in her child's life. So this is something that you and I have to make a decision about. Not only is it a financial decision, it's a quality of life decision to make regarding how you align yourself with Carrot Bars International. How can you gain a foothold and get not only financial freedom, but also time freedom and also location freedom? How do we get free to be able to do what you did just a couple of weeks ago? One day, Jaden forgot his lunch. And you said, no problem. I'll get in the car and bring my son something to eat at school. You couldn't do that if you were on your job.
No, sir. Carrot Bars is the answer.
Yeah, we got something to look at here. You were going to say, sister?
I was just going to say carrot bars is the answer. That's how I was able to do that.
There it is. There it is. Mr. McKay, this is something we're all having a bit of a witness-bearing session here, but do you agree, sir, that what we're looking at is an opportunity for us to move forward on our personal level as well as on a global level?
Oh, that was just so eloquent with what Ms. Glaspie just said, because you said that I could have gone to a fancy institution and I would have had fancy debt. I would have had all this debt following behind me. And then she was a truck driver, and truck drivers make pretty good money from what I understand. It's all relative, but it's a chase for that money. And so now you get a chance to be restored here, because we talked about, and Tanisha said it so well, it doesn't make, in the care buyers, it doesn't make a difference whether you make a little or a lot. It's the money that you have and the proper system that you put it in, because it reminds me of the 2 fish and 5 loaves. Now, naturally, I can't go feed this neighborhood with 2 fish and 5 loaves, but let me put it in the right system. You can get a 10 of a gram in this system, that thing will just change your life. Come on, somebody.
And Mr. McKay, check this out. Look, we watched a video called The Connector, and I think what happens sometimes, that repetition dulls us out from hearing the essence and the truth of that video. It says the public school system was created right at the exact same time of the Industrial Revolution, during the World Wars, so that they could create a nation of workers. All right. If you just think about the simplicity of that, they created a system to churn out workers, just like an assembly line. We need workers. So we need a system that creates a worker's mindset. If you want to be broke, you need to go through the school system. Now, I know that's hard. I know that rubs against your, how dare he say something so bold and so, egregious. Yeah. If you want to be broke, you need to go through your training system to be a worker. If you work, you're probably going to be broke. And what does broke mean? Mr. Best gave us a great definition. If you have to go to a 9 to 5 or a job and work 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week, and hope someone else pays you, you are broke, because your expense is going to equal your salary. Don't believe me? Just go ask your bank account. Don't believe me? You don't have to. Don't believe me? Forget the messenger. Listen to the message and go ask your bank account, is the messenger telling the truth? If you work, you are broke.
Not only are you telling the truth, Mr. Delco, you're telling a truth that is personal and intimate and very frontal. Those of us on this line who are invited here for the first time today, we know the truth. We know that every week or every pay period, our bank account goes close to perilously back to zero. And then it takes an infusion at payday, and then we pay off and we chip away at the little temporary illusory wealth that we have to pay bills to somebody else that never come back to us. And I've heard people say to me, I can't afford to do anything with Carrot Bars because I owe somebody else.
Oh, Mr. Jamil, I heard one of my business partners today, she said, I've got a friend who just bought a brand new Audi, but he can't get a bronze package. Please hear me. It's not designed to be an insult, but you can get a loan. You can get some credit if you got a good credit score. Your credit score is not telling you how wealthy you are. It's telling you how well you've paid your bills. All right. So you can get some credit and you can get a car. You can get you a $40,000 automobile with $1,000 down. But once you exchange that cash for that Audi, now you got a $600 a month note. You're going backwards. Yeah. And it's not rare to not have $200 disposable income to get a bronze package, to change money systems.
It's much more common than you might think, Mr. Delco. I've heard many of our potential business partners, prospects, who say they understand what Carrot Bars represents, but who say, I'll have to get back to you in 3 months when I can assemble enough for a bronze package.
Absolutely.
I'll have to get back to you in 3 months when I can assemble enough to pay my own self. Because I owe others and I'm indebted to others, and others are prioritized ahead of myself and my children and my family and our future. That is a dangerous mindset to be in, where you will pay somebody else before you'll pay yourself.
I gather so much, and I know we're over at 6 o'clock. I gather so much joy. Guys, oh my gosh. I was looking at my beautiful wife today, and she had water welling up in her eyes. I said, "What's wrong, babe?" She said, "Nothing's wrong." She said, "We're riding around looking at houses." She said, "People don't get to do this." She was hurt. She was hurting for people. Guys, oh my God. Hopefully I won't take this energy the wrong direction. We got friends that we love so dearly, and they look at us with skepticism, knowing that we're living our dream. Do you hear what I'm saying? They're literally watching us get rich in front of their face. And they know exactly what we're doing. Some of them have joined and refuse to save a gram of gold thinking it might help us. Oh, these are really, really deep, cataclysmic. This wealth transfer will turn friends against one another because they won't understand the simple idea that we're just trying to exercise group economics to build wealth together. Oh, it's going to happen because there's this little invention called Facebook where Miss Tanisha Glaspie has connected with 300 or 400 people that she didn't know before this opportunity. Oh, this is so deep.
And deep it is, ladies and gentlemen. Deep it is, friends and neighbors. Deep it is, business partners, because every one of us has an opportunity to share this. But Carrot Bars, like love, does not effectively accrue to you until you first give it away to somebody else. You can't be as successful as a gold saver or organization builder or a cryptocurrency investor, whatever it is you want to use Carrot Bars as the vehicle to do. You can't be successful as you want to be doing it until you help somebody else do what they need to do. That's why we're going to go to the big board in New York. We're going to thank everybody on our panel, Mr. Delco, certainly Mr. McKay, Ms. Glaspie. We wanted to hear from the Thompsons. I'm sure they'll be with us again next week. Mr. Ty Best, all the leadership of Wealth Builders Worldwide, and all of you around the globe who are with us today. We thank you for your participation, and we remind you that we'll be open to receive your gram totals toward the grand total for grams, which will close off tonight at 11:59 p.m. So you can continue to report your savings in gold to Gram-A-Thon.info or goldrocks.info. Make sure that you follow the prompts that Mr. Berger has given for us on the system. And now we give you back to the man who makes it happen in New York City. No, it's not Frank Sinatra. No. It's not Abe Beam. It's not Ed Koch. It's not John Lindsay. It wasn't David Dinkins. It's not even Mayor de Blasio. It's Mr. Rodney Berger in New York. Mr. Berger, what do you have for us?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm not going to give you the gram total yet because we have one more video that Mr. Delco wanted everyone to watch. This is a new release video that came out today, and this is the solution to everything that we showed today. So we're going to take a few minutes to watch this, and then at the end of this, we're going to have a grand total from as of 6 o'clock, and then we'll have another grand total for today at 11:59 p.m. this evening. So let's watch this, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Our journey into the crypto world was very special. It's always been important to me to offer the people something they can benefit from. For me, gold represents freedom and independence for the people. Right now, we are limited by the financial system, and I want to change that.
Our CEO, he is a very innovative person. He thought about the cryptocurrency because everyone knows about cryptocurrency, which is the next boom.
You can go to a bank with a bank account right now, yes. You can buy gold somewhere, okay, yes. You can buy digital currency somewhere, yes. But everything from one hand, from one company, that never happened before.
I've known Harold Seitz for years. He's always turned his ideas into reality, and I am convinced that in the near future, the entire planet will talk about this.
It's about time to introduce the KB Universe.
At the center of our ecosystem is the Carat Coin Bank. It is the world's first fully licensed crypto bank with a base capital of $100 million and is offering the KCB, a stable coin with a limitation of 50 billion units. The bank also holds the license for our gold mine in Madagascar, which has a gold volume worth $1.1 billion. The Carat Coin Bank will draw all the gold it needs to back up our cryptocurrencies from there. The Carat Gold Corporation will transact all real asset business within the KB universe, handling gold and cash gold. It is also offering our most exciting and innovative product, the KBC, the first and only gold-backed cryptocurrency in the world.
Our ecosystem is designed to offer a solution for the entire world. We have our ATMs all around the globe, where people can change their coins and withdraw cash gold.
And people can go with their cash gold that they had in their e-wallet and they retrieve it with the ATM directly to the service partner and say, I want to buy your product, but not with the inflated money that we have. I want to use my cash gold based on the Karatbars universe and buy your products and services.
That's our idea. Some are trying gold-backed coins, but that's mostly just contracts. With us, it is actually about the physical gold, a real asset backing our coin.
The KB universe gives you all the services necessary to trade and manage your funds. CaratBit offers you a platform to trade your cryptocurrencies for cash gold, US dollars or euros, and vice versa. CaratPay gives you the opportunity to do business online and pay products and services with the trust of gold backing it. The KCB coin is our digital currency used for all transactions within the KB universe. CaratBit, CaratPay, and the KCB will generate revenue with every transaction made. And the profit those services create goes right back into backing the KBC and the development of our ecosystem.
People can purchase their gold and that can be in their e-wallet, which is called CaratPay. And they can pay online using CaratPay, same like PayPal, credit card, or some other stuff.
So you want to exchange from your gold in your back office to cash gold, our currency, our physical currency, or you want to exchange to digital currency in any way, you will always use CaratPay to pay and exchange these kind of values or currencies with your back office or your wallet systems. Most coins out there are just backed up by their idea or project or whatever, but there was no real asset in a digital coin so far. And this is the first time that it happens with the KBC coin.
Our token is called ERC20 token. When someone comes here, they can buy the token. We have a physical limit for the KBC token.
Our closed ecosystem is a win-win situation for both our coins and our partners. Whenever the bank buys gold to back the KBC, its value increases. Demand and trading volume for the KBC go up, resulting in more fee revenues for the bank, which it can reinvest. Now that the bank has bought more gold, the value of the bank and the KCB will rise accordingly, again resulting in more trade and demand for the KCB, which means more revenues to further build up our ecosystem. Our reinvestments will always positively affect both coins and generate a cycle of value increase, a value that is always backed by real assets.
And every time there's a transaction, there's a fee. The fee goes into a bank, but the fee is less than everywhere else in the world. And this fee goes into the profit of the bank, and that profit will be shared with every coin holder out there.
We use 50% of the revenue from our transaction fees to develop new infrastructures, build ATMs, and mine resources. So we are constantly expanding the trading possibilities for our users and making the KCB more profitable and user-friendly. With more trading options available, there will be more fees generated, which can be reinvested into the system. The other half of the revenue is going directly into the development of our Carrot Coin Bank, further increasing the value of the KCB and the trust in our bank. Thereby, we are returning the increase in value to all of our partners, affiliates, and coin holders.
I believe the Karatbars ecosystem will be the new leading financial system in the world within the next 10 years. Right now, there's no alternative to the debt caused by fiat currency. Germany owes $2 trillion, the U.S. $20 trillion, and no one can repay that. That's why we are creating a new payment system right now that has a real value. We want to bring back balance to the ecosystem and create more peace in the world.
Karatbars is my future-safe place to do all my savings, sales, and distribution. We will no longer depend on fiat currencies like the euro or US dollar. So I want to be a part of this unique payment system and help get the word out.
I had to take the challenge and do all the work. And until now, I am successful. So I love to work in a system like this where I have challenge.
We will be able to create a new world currency, although that's not entirely true. It is the world's oldest currency and has been around for over 2,800 years.
With our all-in-one ecosystem, we offer you more than any other investment today, giving you access to everything, securing your money in real assets, trading online with a gold-backed coin, and an alternative real-world currency with the speed, safety, and versatility of blockchain-based cryptocurrencies. Find out more about the KB universe and see what it can do for you.
We will be there long term because our assets are there long term.
That's sensational. This is something really special.
That's all what Karatbars offer. Now the decision depends on the user.
Man's highest values are love, respect, appreciation, and friendship. That's how we should shape our lives. That is what I stand for, work for, and what I fight for.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, friends, we've heard it. We've heard it directly from our founder and CEO, Mr. Harold Seitz. We know that Karatbars is the means by which to balance the ecosystem and bring peace to the world. We know that. And so as we prepare to go to the big board, let me thank you preliminarily. Let me thank you before we focus our attention on New York, because we want to hear from Mr. Rodney Berger. We want to thank you from wherever you are. I see so many of you, Sister Azania Maisha and Juanita Renee Muhammad and Finest the Boss Parkinson and Sherelle Forderman and Tim Scott and all of us throughout the Karatbar system. Thank you, pardon me, for joining us today. Mr. McKay?
I think that anybody that takes the time, like they would watch a Scarface series or The Godfather for 3 hours or 2 hours, any of those things that are entertaining, that they would take a look at what's been shared today. Because when we talk about Wealth Builders and Wealth Builders University, it is that. So we're not any hype or any kind of misdirection. We are direct, and we're showing financial freedom. Everybody that's part of our Wealth Builders Worldwide is on a track to financial freedom. Everybody that's in this system is on a track to financial freedom. And with the advent and the addition of cryptocurrency, it has just been accelerated. And I think the slide was just on here. So everything now has just been accelerated. And Mr. Harold Seitz created millionaires last month when he said, "Do you have KBC coins? You're lucky." Because July 4th, 2019, I'm about to turn that dirty penny that used to be copper, that's just brown now, brown poop, I'm going to turn that into 40 cents each, and I'm going to make you wealthy just like that. Man, this is incredible. We could talk about this all night, as we always talk about, but imagine getting paid to save and getting paid to use your own money that you're going to spend anyway.
Say that again now. Say that again. They didn't hear you. They didn't hear you.
Getting paid to save and getting paid to spend the money you was going to spend anyway.
My goodness. See when you're getting paid to save money you were going to spend, that creates 3 separate avenues of profitability for you. Number 1, saving. Number 2, getting paid to save. And number 3, not spending on what you would have wasted money about. So you're pulling now profitability toward you. You become an inevitable juggernaut, an irresistible wealth building machine. That's who you are. But you got to get up and make the steps that you have to make. If you're already in Carrot Bars, contact your sponsor. Get with your teammates. Learn this business. Mind your business, as Brother Kevin always says, Kevin Thompson, mind your business and mind your business. Get deep into it. Make sure everybody in your organization is able to take advantage of this opportunity. Make sure that everybody in your organization has their KYC documents approved. Make sure that if they want to get a business package, not only do they bring the business package payment to you, make sure they don't buy an Audi this month because they might not be able to afford to get a bronze package. But we also want to make sure that everybody who's in this business helps everybody else who's in this business. And we're going to keep getting better and better. I want to quote Sister India Gomez. She makes a point, and she says something. She said, who else in the world is going to build a business and then build into the principles on which they make that business? Love, respect, appreciation, and friendship. That's the heart of Mr. Harold Sykes. That's the heart of Mr. Harold Sykes. Love, respect, appreciation, and friendship built into the very fiber and foundation of Carrot Bars International. If you're not here, get here. If you are here, get moving. And if you're already moving, let's go and make this thing happen today. Mr. Berger, let's talk about what's happening at the big board in New York.
You know, Minister Jamil, I'm just sitting here just in awe of the time that we've had together today. You know, my prayer is that people will open their heart and listen to what we're saying. We're trying to tell them because we love them. We love everyone that connected with us on this stream today or watching this video. You know, we just want to see you free. We just want to see you free. That's why we do what we do here in the world of Carrot Bars and Wealth Builders Worldwide. We love you and we want to see you free. So, as of now, our grand total, and as of 6:15, I added the extra 15 minutes because there's a whole bunch still coming in after 6 o'clock. So we got 1,076 grams, 1,076.2 grams. As if you're asking, what's the 0.2? That's 1/10 of a gram. So
that's over a kilo. That's outstanding. Outstanding total.
Very much.
Big time. Big time. And so, guys, congratulations for paying yourself first. Congratulations for hanging out with us today. This was an incredible Gram-A-Thon. And I want to appreciate everyone who contributed to the panelists today. Thank you guys for sharing your wisdom. And as always, you know, Minister Jamil, you're just a great host. We love you. We thank you for all this.
Love you too.
So I'm done. So back to everyone right now. So any closing thoughts from the rest of you, Minister Jamil? I'm going to let you close everybody out. I'm just thrilled, just and honored to be a part of such an amazing family. So thank you guys. And
real quick for me, I'm just thankful for all the impartation that I've received from all of the business partners around the world and wealth builders and leadership of Ty and Valerie Best. Thank you guys for everything. Back to you.
Yes, sir. Mr. McKay?
I want people to leave this message knowing that gold represents freedom. I don't care what else you're doing. I don't care where you're putting your money, all those things like that. You got to know that in your heart that gold represents freedom. And we have that here for you.
No doubt about it. Thank you, sir. And we appreciate the wonderful and uplifting, spiritually and intellectually nourishing contribution that you've made to this program this afternoon. Thank you so much, Mr. Gregory McKay.
Thank you, sir.
Now over to Phoenix, Arizona for Miss Tanisha Glaspie. Miss Glaspie, your closing comments.
Register for free right now.
That sounds definitive to me. And so I will leave you in the words of all of my co-panelists combined. I will leave you by saying that to register for free right now, to remember that gold is freedom, to remember that there's love amongst us, and that we thank God and thank each other for the wonderful uplift we've gotten today. I want to add to that, my particular thanks for the creation of this format by Mrs. Shelby Casey Thompson from Team Freedom in Washington, D.C. She's 1/3 of the leadership of that organization, along with Mr. Brian Battle and Shelby's husband, Mr. Kevin 2X Thompson. Wherever they are, we pray for their success, their benefit, and their progress, because it is they who took their time to create this format to make sure that we can have a Gram-A-Thon that makes everybody know that what we're doing. Remember, free is more than halfway to freedom. I'm quoting Sister Tanisha Glaspie. She said, free is actually more than halfway to freedom. So get your free gold savings account. Get back to the person who invited you onto this stream. Make sure that you contact them. Let them know you want to be a part of the growing reality, the growing benefit that is Karat Bars International. And so today we leave you by saying to you peace and blessings and progress in the way of your own freedom by being a gold saver, an organization builder, a cryptocurrency investor, yes, but being a better person all along. Thank you so much for having joined us today. We wish you peace. Good day.